Folks, welcome back to a very special episode or episodes of So Bad It's Good. The reason I'm using this intense voice is because we have finally reached the Traitors Season 4. The season is here. 3 episodes have dropped on Peacock, and you probably have not been able to watch these first 3 episodes, but don't worry. When you start watching, you might wonder who all of these contestants or some of these contestants are, and we are here to help you today because we have the Bravo Investigator, the podcast, the Instagram account, and her specialty truly is deep diving Bravo Lebs, but I think you will see her specialty is deep diving anybody. So, Dana, please introduce yourself.
Hello, baddies. It's so good to be here. It's so good to be hanging out with you guys. I'm really excited for this deep dive because, as you know, that's what I love to do. And when I found out there was 23 cast members, I'm like, okay, like that's all I need. That is, that gives me life. You know what I mean? To deep dive 23 people who could all be criminals.
Yeah.
They can have crazy backgrounds. Who knows, right? Well, we do know because we've done the research now.
Some of them do have crazy backgrounds, actually. And I think when you look at the cast list, some people are like, oh, I like this person, I like that person. But you have to realize from a casting perspective, there's a reason why each one of these people have been cast. And I'm sure the casting people in their minds speculate about the type of personalities or the type of gameplay or so many different things. And so even reading, your investigative work, it's been really interesting to be like, oh, okay, that could pop up here or that could pop up there. And what makes them a good traitor or a faithful? Would you agree?
I really actually didn't think about it like that until you just mentioned it. I kind of thought producers made these decisions based on popularity or contention, right? Like there's definitely people on
So you're saying Michael Rappaport is a very popular person?
No, definitely not. But he would be the kind of person where people might want to hate watch him. Yeah. I don't know. I guess I didn't think about it in terms of producers trying to decide if someone based on their background would be a good game player. Because I feel like we have so many people from outside of that space, but look how well they can do. People always, underestimate the housewives, right? And look how well they've done. But, we have gamers with that real gaming background. I guess, I just never really thought about it that way. I thought the producers just sort of kind of decided who is going to make the audience most interested to watch? Not necessarily who's going to play this the best.
Well, I mean, I think you have to split the difference on this because I think you do have to pick players that are going to make the game kind of fly in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
That you want a mixture of both. But I will say to your point about the gamers, I feel like they have the toughest road in games like this because if you are aware that they're a gamer, you almost give them this godly power that they are able to figure out everything and that they're better than you are. And
right.
Housewives, they felt in previous seasons were being attacked or hunted and stuff. And I don't necessarily feel like that's the case anymore. I feel like the gamers have the hardest road to go down. And by the way, if you're listening to this and not watching, Dana did make us buy Traitors cloaks. So we're both in Traitors cloaks, which I feel like a superhero right now. So this is amazing.
Thank you, Amazon, for your next day delivery. I was like, Ryan, do you want to record in cloaks? Got an immediate yes, I'm extremely busy right now, but yes.
These episodes, by the way, too, is that we're putting this out over the weekend, but these to me are evergreen. These to me, you could make it to the end of this season and go, I want to know more about them. I want to go back and listen to this episode. So this episode is going to be mainly spoiler free for the most part. We're going to really dive into who these people are. The gameplay and stuff like that I'll be doing with Bergie from season 2 of the Traitors. So that is coming up for you as well. But let's get into the characters. Who do you want to start off with?
Ooh. It's a hard one. I kind of am excited to start off with Colton Underwood just because I feel like he's a familiar name to so many people in the reality TV sphere. What do you think?
Oh, 100%. But I almost think he's he's a known entity, but at the same time, there is so much negativity surrounding Colton in online forums. And, me not having watched his season of The Bachelor, I'm aware of little things here and there, but there seems to be an intense dislike at times for him. And I think this will be great to kind of try to understand that a little bit better. So what do you have on Colton?
Oh my gosh, the lore on this guy. So you didn't watch the season. Okay, so your familiarity with him was just that he was on The Bachelor. Like, what did you know about him once he got cast as a traitor, or sorry, not a traitor, as someone on the Traitors? I want to start there.
Traitors, I knew that he was a bachelor. I knew that he was a football player, and I knew that he, you know what? I'm just pulling things from the top of my mind. Is that he put a tracking device on one of his girlfriend's cars, but then after that, he actually came out, and now he's married. He has a child. He just hosted a show on Hulu.
Right.
So his career seems to be doing, and now he's on the Traitors. But every time I see something pop up about his name online, they'll be like, "Get this guy off! Get this guy off!" And I didn't necessarily. I mean, the tracking device, that's pretty insane. But I mean, take us. So it's like,
Yeah.
in 2014, you say he was signed as an undrafted free agent by the San Diego Chargers.
Right.
Then in 2014, that was May. In September, he was signed to the Philadelphia Eagles practice squads. And so did he ever make a team?
Well, then he returned to the Chargers later that year. He signed a contract, but then he was placed on injury reserve. I don't know what that means exactly because I'm not a sports person, but I assume that means you're injured and you're still on the team. You kind of like, is it like when you're on the bench, almost in a sense?
You know, this is where it's like, I have no sports knowledge.
We don't know.
I mean, a little, but what I would think is that maybe injured reserve is that if somebody gets injured, you're able to fill in for that person.
Oh, okay. Well, then the next year he was signed to the Raiders practice squad. And on August 29, 2016, he was released by the Raiders. So he really only played like 2 years in professional football. I thought his career was much longer than that. So that's all we were able to really get on that. But he is known as like a football player. And so when he came on The Bachelor, it's not crazy for us to have bachelors or bachelor contestants who have backgrounds in professional sports. So that's what he came in with. And he came in on season 14 of The Bachelorette, which was Becca Kufrin's season. And you didn't watch that season, Ryan?
14? I thought it was season 23.
Of The Bachelorette?
Oh, The Bachelorette. He came in. Oh, sorry. He came on The Bachelorette first. Oh,
yes.
Sorry. I was highlighted. He came. Oh, no, I didn't watch that season either.
Yeah, so he was on that. I think he got to Final Four. That I'm not positive of. But, you know, when you're not one of the final two in The Bachelor and people don't get to know you as well, you kind of come off better sometimes and then can sometimes then become The Bachelor because he had this sort of like teddy bear vibe and people thought he was so adorable. So then, yeah, before that, he actually went on Bachelor in Paradise and he hooked up with Tia Booth. And when I say hooked up, I don't mean like that. I mean like, you know, he hung out with her. He eventually left the season because he was like, you know, there isn't someone here that I'm going to marry. And that's when he became the Bachelor for season 23. And he was our first virgin Bachelor. So that was also his main storyline going into The Bachelor. So he was on 3 Bachelor shows as a virgin.
Okay, that's really interesting. It came on there but he must have made such an impression, even not winning The Bachelorette, that obviously casting was very intrigued. And I mean, it's not stunt casting, but when you're like the first virgin Bachelor, that's something that you can tell people in one sentence where you're like, oh, that's interesting. They've never had a virgin Bachelor before.
Yeah.
This is like this next season with Taylor Frankie Paul. It's like our first Mormon housewife that has her own reality show will be The Bachelorette. But you also have here in the notes here that I found interesting, he used to date Allie. Who did he used to date? The gymnast.
Raisman, who was a gymnast. So she was a very famous gymnast. And trigger warning, you know, she was the subject of sexual assault by Dr. Larry Nassar, which was like a huge, crazy case that was going on with Gymnastics USA. I'm sure you heard about it back when it was going on. But he famously did date her for a while. He was asked about, because he was a virgin, you know, he was asked about that and his relationship with her in terms of like sex. And he's responded in the news basically saying like, she's been through enough. I didn't even touch that area with her, you know?
That's amazing. I mean, that's good.
Yeah.
And by the way, Dr. Larry Nassar is currently serving the rest of his life behind bars, deservedly so. So somewhat of a happy ending on that one. So he goes on season 23 as the first virgin Bachelor. And what was it like for him on that season?
It was odd. He ended up being most interested in this girl, Cassie Randolph. And we didn't really notice her until closer to the end of the season. Like, he actually spoke later on about making a concerted effort to sort of steer production away from letting them notice that he was into her because he wanted it to be like the most organic, I guess, in terms of being able to get to know her. So he like, I don't think he even asked her on a one-on-one date until like very, very far into the season. And then she ended up ending their relationship, but that was the person that he wanted. So she did that on camera. And then he looked directly into the eyes of producers, kind of ran away. Okay. This is like on one of their like cast trips. So they're like, they're not in the United States.
This sounds like an amazing season of reality television. Even if
he jumped a fence.
This man is gay. Yeah, he jumped a fence. Yeah. Okay.
So he ends up like escaping. He's trying to run away from production at this point because they want to talk to him. They're like, how do you feel? And he's like, I hate you guys. So he's trying to run away from the show at this point, and he jumps a fence. Production doesn't follow him because they're not going to go those lengths. He eventually comes back the next day, but this is all going on in like a foreign country, right?
Foreign country, yeah.
So he ends up breaking up with the other two women, and he finds Cassie, asks her for a second chance without the pressure of engagement, because in his mind, like, that was who he wanted. Yeah. So they ended up being in a relationship from November 2018 until May 2020. It was weird because, like, he picked her, but, like, they didn't have sex. They didn't get married. He ended up moving to LA to be with her, but they didn't live together. And then we heard...
What was the vibe? I mean, do you know what the vibe was during this season of how did people feel about him? Were people like, oh my God, this is so romantic? Or were people like, oh, I don't trust this guy? What was the overall sense about him?
Trying to recall, there's been so many bachelors. I think people were on his side. I think people were for him. I think especially when he was going after his girl. But I remember the end being very weird. Like, you know how they typically will post like a photo at the end of the season, like the two of them together, and I picked my person, I'm so happy. He posted a picture like that. She posted a picture by herself and talked about the season, right? Just like weird vibes in that sense. Like, it really felt like she was not into this guy. When it turns out, in September 2020, after they've broken up, so it's been a few months, she ends up filing a restraining order against him, alleging that he stalked her outside her apartment and her parents' Huntington Beach house, sending harassing text messages using an anonymous number and installing a tracking device under her car. So she ends up getting this restraining order ahead of this October hearing, and then she ends up dropping it in November. He ends up stating, I do not believe Cassie did anything wrong in filing the restraining order, and I also believe she acted in good faith. He ended up admitting to this restraining order thing. And we were all, that's when we lost him.
But for her to drop charges, I would assume that there was some sort of agreement between them and their lawyers or whatever to drop those charges. That wasn't just done of goodwill. That must have been an understanding. Like, if you come out in the press and say this, I will drop this. But that really is so intense. And I am assuming that these text messages we never got a hold of. Folks, we are here once again to talk about our good friends over at Quince. Now, it's January here in Los Angeles, and it is raining cats and dogs, so you need clothes for those colder winter days. I'm wearing my very sharp, lightweight sports jacket, if you can see this on YouTube right now. But this is your moment where your winter wardrobe, it really has to deliver. And if you're craving a winter reset, start with pieces truly made to last season after season. Quince brings together premium materials, thoughtful design, and enduring quality so you stay warm, look sharp, and feel your best all season long. It has everything you need. Men's Mongolian cashmere sweaters, wool coats, leather and suede outerwear that actually hold up to daily wear and still look good. The outerwear, especially impressive. Think down jackets, wool coats, Italian leather outerwear that keeps you warm when it's actually cold. Each piece is made from premium materials by trusted factories that meet rigorous standards for craftsmanship and ethical production. And by cutting out the middleman and traditional markups, Quince delivers the same quality as luxury brands at a fraction of the price. The result is always going to be classic styles that you're going to love that hold up year after year. So refresh your winter wardrobe with Quince. Go to quince.com/sobad for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. Now available in Canada too. That's QUINCE.com/sobad for free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/sobad.
No, I don't believe so, but it was like my understanding is like he was it was stalking, right? He's trying to get a hold of her. He's trying to control her. Where are you going? It was my understanding. It was things like, where are you going? Who are you with? That kind of thing. And remember, they broke up in May, and this is September of 2020. Okay, so it's been several months. So that's when we lost him, Ryan. That's when he was no longer a fan favorite. People were pissed off. So then the next year, he ends up releasing this documentary on Netflix called Coming Out Colton. And it didn't have a lot of great reception, but I did watch it because I was sort of interested.
Yeah.
And it was in this documentary that he comes out as gay. And he actually comes out to his father on camera, who was pissed, by the way.
On camera?
Mm-hmm. Like, I don't know what he told his dad the title of the documentary was while they were filming it, while he's having that moment.
This is called All Man Colton. Yeah, it's not Coming Out Colton. It's
and
Colton.
There was something I took away from it. Listen, I think what he did is deplorable, unacceptable, and unforgivable. However, in gaining a better understanding of who he is as a person and how he grew up in the South and grew up in this football world where, you can't be gay. We've seen that recently in heated rivalry, right? To come out is a really big deal in the sports community. And he was also very, very religious, and he really struggled with that. And
so
in his mind,
Cassie as his last shot at being straight, right?
That's what he ended up saying, that it was just, it was his last shot at being straight, but also once they broke up, he still couldn't accept that because he needed to get her back or else he had to be gay, and he couldn't be gay. He just couldn't be gay. So he started doing insane stuff, criminal stuff, quite frankly, to try to get her back, because if he couldn't get her back, if he couldn't make this work, then he had to be gay, and he couldn't accept that. So again, I think what he did is disgusting, it gives me a little bit better of an understanding of where he was in his brain in that moment, which wasn't well, right? He wasn't well.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, but I want to agree with you. Yeah, this is completely deplorable. I mean, that is disgusting. And I'm sure Cassie felt so violated and afraid and all of those. But I will, to what you had just said, I grew up I grew up luckily enough to grow up around gay people. And I remember being friends with somebody that came out in high school or was facing that. And they tried to unalive themselves. And this was, a long time ago. It's come a long way since then, but people have to put themselves, and I think, you can do it in small ways with your own life, or something that you're potentially made to feel so ashamed of by the public and by religion and by your family and all of these things. It doesn't excuse his behavior, but it does give us some context with, if you feel like you will not be able to live without, like, I need to assimilate, I need to be this perfect person, you can see where there is a desperation that's going to make you act so out of pocket because you can't see the other side. You can't see that it is possible to have a loving gay relationship, to be able to have a family, to be able to do all the normal things that us weirdo straight people can do. And I think that gives it a little bit of context. Like I said, we're not excusing that behavior, but I do think it is so important to realize the difference and the desperation that we as humans have sometimes that will make us act so insane. And unfortunately, and I'm sure I can't speak for Colton and I don't know him personally, that's something he's never going to be able to live down, like that he did this. And I see this online, Dana, is that I see it all the time of like, bad man, bad man, bad man. But I do sometimes hope that people can like open their minds a little bit to say, these things there are complete maniacs. There are people that are sociopaths, but sometimes life, you don't feel like you're presented with options. And I don't know, that's just how I see it, but it is interesting. So what happens after this?
So after this, he goes on to marry a man named Jordan C. Brown. They have a child together. And then he did this show for Virgins, right, with Caitlin Bristow. But the reason he ended up coming out in this documentary was because an anonymous man who took a picture of him nude at a gay sauna had threatened him and blackmailed him with this. So he talked about this in an interview with Variety, that he had experimented with men before appearing on the Bachelor franchise, stating that he used Grindr. But I'm just shocked that you would then go on TV, because if you were trying to keep this a secret like that, I mean, those grinder guys could come out of the woodwork. You don't know.
But Dana, are you shocked? I mean, I feel like those are the people that run towards reality television. The people that have personal chaos in their lives seems to be the ones that we see on these shows. You know, like I woke up today to headlines about like Lala and Amber Childers, Randall Emmett's exes, doing that podcast together. And Lala going, oh, yeah, I was completely lying during Vanderpump Rules. I did have a sex tape and I did have this. And I'm like, why would you do, like, they can't help but run towards things that make them look so insane. And so I don't know if this is rage baiting. I don't know what this is, because in my life, I'm like, no, I would run away from this so hard. And I think that's why I'm not made for reality television. Probably you aren't either, but these people are. So I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's narcissism. I don't know if they don't stop to think about like, oh, well, I do happen to be on Grindr a lot. So that could come up at some point.
Or even like this point now when he's so hated, you know, I'm sure he was presented this opportunity and I'm sure he thought about it long and hard. And people probably told him, you know what, go do it. This could be an opportunity for you to, you know, regain the audience favor, but it might not. I mean, what he did and how people view him.
Your football career is over. I said his football career is over. So he's looking for a path to be like, what does the rest of my life look like, right?
That's a good point. No, that's a good point. And there's one thing that I just wanted to mention in terms of his whole story, and I guess why, for me, I didn't really understand it until he explained it, is just because it's like, I mean, it's 2026 now, but this was only a few years ago. So to me, being gay is cool. Being gay is awesome. And I didn't realize that we were still, in some parts, still so closeted and still so fearful, right? So that was just really surprising that that was still so prevalent and still such a big deal in his life in this day and age.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're lucky to be like, oh, what's the big deal? This is awesome. But you have to realize that it's not like that for everybody. It's not like that everywhere. And there are still so many people that speak about this in such a unholy way, like it's some kind of disgusting sin, and it's a very real thing. I've seen it, you know, like it's a very real thing. So even though I feel like, oh, I'm, you know, what is the big deal? It is a big deal to people still. Yeah. And it, you know, it's definitely better than it was 30 years ago. But anyways, I do love that his career path, you know, he's married with one child, but then he did in 2024 do the Hulu show with Caitlin Bristow, Are You My First? Which was,
did you watch that?
No, I was going to, but then it was just too much TV, but it was basically a reality show with a bunch of virgins. It was great. Yeah.
Well, I guess we don't know, but did they find love? Did anyone find love?
I don't know.
Did anyone bang?
I have no clue. And I don't know. You know what? I didn't even hear enough people talking about it where I don't know if it'll get a second season, but Hulu is doing so many reality shows that they might get a second season just to have the content because, you know, they're doing the Nader show, the Kardashians, Mormon Wives is on there as well. So they're building a nice little, you know, they got Alex Cooper's show coming out on Hulu as well, reality wise. So I don't know. We'll see. But
I can add one other little detail, which was just that Caitlin Bristow did say that she got permission from Cassie before doing that show with Colton. She did speak with her to make sure that she was okay with it. So that's nice.
That's great. Actually, no, that's good. I mean, I don't know, but Colton is on this season of the Traitors. And listen, if I were casting or the producers, I would think long and hard of, do I want him as a faithful or do I want him as a traitor? Because if you are this adept at hiding things, if you are this adept at making sure things work in a certain way, he might be an excellent traitor, you guys. And then if he is now so comfortable in his own skin, and that has given him so much more confidence, he also could be a great faithful. But if you're a player, you would also then be wondering, is this guy lying to me? Because he lied his whole life. I think it's an interesting casting choice.
That was beautiful, Brian. That was beautiful. Because we said at the beginning of this, you were like, producers must be thinking this, that, whatever. I'm like, I think they think it all. And you just made all of the perfect points for why to cast him on this show, right?
Yeah.
Those are all the producer points.
I think with also like this, or, you know, I already see people hating on Michael Rappaport, and I think most of that's deserved. That's good. I think they want that. They want that. They want us to like band together to hate somebody. They want to, I mean, that inspires conversation. That inspires us getting the word out. I mean, it just shows that there is a passionate fan base. So I don't think they shy away from people that are disliked or hated, obviously.
But I think that they can't make him a faithful because he's hated, right? Like, or do they not think like that? Because I feel like if you make someone who's not liked a faithful, then everybody has to sort of like him.
you have to remember that we, and anybody listening or watching right now, we are a very different breed. We are extremely online. We're not the majority of people.
That's true.
Most people will have no clue what Colton Underwood, what his whole history is. And if you don't
I'm
watch
curious
The
what he
Bachelor,
says about it too.
but if you don't watch The Bachelor, you're not going to know him at all. So it really is. There's so many different fan bases of, you might know the gamers, but you don't know the housewives. You might know the housewives, but you don't know the sports people. Like that kind of stuff. I mean, I find myself like not knowing some of these people, So anyways, that is Colton Underwood. Who do we have next?
I want to let you say the name because you do it in your beautiful way.
Lisa Rinna. The demon is back, folks. The demon is back. I'm okay with, like, people are like, are you so upset? No, I'm not. I'm getting used to the cackling again. There's a lot of cackling already. But I think this is a perfect venue for Lisa Rinna. And I think she's somebody that will make a lot of moments, good and bad. So I think it's perfect casting. But what is Lisa Rinna's history?
Okay, this is like an iconic choice. I'm sorry. It just is. Like, so we know her as a Real Housewife in the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills from, why did I write 2024 to 2023? That doesn't make any sense. So those dates can't be correct. Let's fact check that in a minute. But she did play Billy on Days of Our Lives. So she is an actress. And she did actually mention that she auditioned for the first season of The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. But back then, they weren't really interested in having actresses on the show. That came later on with her, with Eileen Davidson. She started as Roxy Hart in Chicago on Broadway, which we know loves too.
When Beverly Hills did start accepting actresses, and I think Lisa Rinna was the start of that, I really do think it changed the overall scope of Beverly Hills, and I don't think all in a positive way. I think it opened up things to, it did turn into more of a modern day soap opera, and, the acting the reality was very soap opera like.
Yeah.
And that's really, a lot of people love that. And if it's in the right season, it's great. But if you have that with the wrong people around, I don't think Beverly Hills has truly ever recovered from that decision,
Who did you find too actory?
Lisa Rinna.
You found she was too actory?
Oh, Lisa Rinna. I mean, not the first season, but then I always say she just kept ramping up, and it became a caricature of a caricature where I was like, what are you? You're so unhinged. And it's like you're trying to make moments or hop on somebody else's moments instead of having your own moment. And I will say, I feel like Heather Gay is coming for that title this season on Salt Lake City, where I'm like, you don't have a storyline. So you're trying to hop on other people's storylines, but you're acting like you're so personally invested that it is becoming not believable to me.
That is exactly how I would describe Lisa Rinna on The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. You're correct. You're absolutely correct.
At the same time, she is an iconic housewife. I will not argue that at all. I understand. She's so memeable. If you love her, you love her. If you hate her, she's fun to hate. I mean, both sides work.
Right. No, totally. But like in line with what you're saying, she's married to Harry Hamlin, this big actor, but we see nothing of their relationship. They have these two daughters who kind of become like little celebrities, influencers in their own right. We have Amelia, who dated Scott Disick, and that was a storyline that I kind of loved. And then we have Delilah Bell. Now, she dated E.L. Booker from Love Island UK. Are you familiar with him?
He was in an episode of Beverly Hills, if you remember.
Yes, that's right. So we just don't get a ton about like her life as much. We get stuff about her daughters during the show. One of her daughters struggled with an eating disorder. But I would say that like Lisa Rinna's biggest moments are what she's known for. Like she's had these classic moments on The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills that I was hoping you would indulge me sort of going through, because I think it would be so fun, especially if during the season of the Traitors or online where we see memes, people are going to start quoting her. And I want the Traitors fans who don't know who she is to understand what those lines mean, right?
Yeah,
so we should go through like some of those like iconic things. Okay. Here's my favorite one. So everyone is sitting down to dinner, and she turns to Dorit and says, "At that party that you had at your house, was everybody doing coke in your bathroom?" Wild. What I really thought about that today, just as like a blank thing that happened. I'm like, that was insane. That was an insane thing to say.
It was insane. And but by the way, like having come out of the like mini seasons from that time, there is like I was like, well, maybe people were doing coke in their bathroom. It's just that usually that stuff is not called out on camera because we've heard many stories about production, protecting the guys of Southern Charm or the Vanderpump Rules cast where they'll show them binge drinking, but they will not point their cameras at any kind of drug paraphernalia. So it was I think that was a choice. It was really interesting.
But what did she think Dorit would say? Like, let's say I'm sure they were, right? But like, she's not going to say, yeah, I'm admitting to a crime.
Yeah. Do you want some? Yeah.
Okay, they were on this Amsterdam trip. That was another one. Kim Richards implies there's something going on with Harry Hamlin, and she's like, let's not talk about the husband. And Lisa probably did what you're considering very performative. Stands up, breaks a glass on the table, and she's like, don't ever go after my husband.
Don't ever go after my husband. I mean, it was Eileen Davidson. And by the way, where that was in Amsterdam, that restaurant is no longer open, I heard. But it is just literally a block away from Anne Frank's house. Like, I shit you not.
Fun fact.
Rebecca and I were there last year, and it's right in that same. And I was like, this is dark on dark. Is that they are like a block away from Anne Frank's house. It's a museum. You can go tour it. And then that's where the housewife, this huge fight happened where everybody was so shocked of like, well, what's going on with Harry Hamlin? Because there were so many rumors about Harry Hamlin. We knew from the show that he loves to take solo camping trips, which I always found very funny.
To Canada.
Where he just likes to decompress. But there was like, well, does that mean what's the rumor? Is Harry gay? Is he this? Is he that? It was so much. And the fact that Lisa got that upset about it means like, oh, did you strike pay dirt? What is going on with Harry Hamlin?
She brought that up recently because she has this new podcast called Let's Not Talk About the Husband, which is so funny to think about now with everybody talking about the trademarking of high body count hair. Because think about how many lines are taken from the person who didn't say it. You know what I mean? And then they're trademarking it as their own in a way, right? Like Giggly Squad. Squad was Kyle said it.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. I mean, can Kyle sue the Giggler? Can Kyle sue Hannah and Paige? I mean, can Kim Richards sue Lisa Rinna? I mean, and these things that are so painful in the moment, you can monopolize them and make money of them, money from it eventually.
Yeah, I mean, I live in merch. I literally do, right? So if someone says a hilarious Housewives line, I will wear it. Okay, what's your favorite one? What's your favorite Lisa Rinna?
Well, quote? This is I think this is one of her. Well, this is like during the pandemic season when Denise Richards was on, and Lisa was sitting down with Denise. And it was the tail end of the season, and Lisa accused Denise Richards of having sex with Brandi Glanville, and Denise had already like tried to shut this down allegedly. Like the legal way. And Lisa still brought this up, and Denise was like tears in her eyes, and she's like, oh, you're so angry, Denise. And it was so evil. But I will say that scene is even darker now because of what's going on with Denise Richards and Aaron Pfeiffer's, her soon-to-be ex-husband, because if you are to believe everything that Denise is alleging against Aaron, is that this was a physically abusive relationship, and if something did happen between Denise and Brandi, Aaron, it would have maybe made things very, very bad for Denise.
There was this look in her eyes when they're having that conversation, this look in Denise's eyes that I'll never forget, where she looks directly at Lisa, tears in her eyes, and says, I am a happily married woman. I am a very married woman. And watching it now, in retrospect, knowing how terrifying Aaron is, I'm scared by that statement. Do you know what I mean? It almost 100%. Felt like she was saying it with fear. Like, if you continue this, something's going to happen with my marriage.
But that's, I think, why Lisa was, Lisa, I think, knows all those things, but she was still going for the moment. She was still going, and I think some people celebrate her for that, and some people really don't. So that was insane. You also have Lisa giving Kim Richards the bunny. Or no, was it Kim Richards giving Lisa the bunny?
Lisa gave Kim a bunny for her grandson as like a peace offering for constantly calling Kim Richards an alcoholic, okay, which she's done for many seasons. So she's like, let me do this peace offering. You've had this grandson. And then at the reunion that year, Kim gives it back to Lisa, fully packaged up, right? Like it had never been, undone. And then a single tear fell down Lisa's face as it was returned to her.
And now that bunny is on the Watch What Happens Live set. That bunny travels to BravoCon.
I saw it.
I might do a heist like the Ocean's 11 crew and steal that bunny someday. But it's an iconic piece of history. And but she has a very contentious relationship with Bravo. And I want to point out the Traitors is NBC Universal. It's on Peacock. It's in the same family, but it's not Bravo proper. So you'll probably see some reruns of the Traitors air on Bravo from time to time. But Andy Cohen has. He's not an executive producer. He's not this. He's not that. The Bravo executives aren't. It's a completely different team. But it's usually a good sign that there is a decent working relationship because Lisa, since her exit, it's been contentious in terms of how she feels about Bravo and the experience, correct?
Right. So she was invited to BravoCon and she sort of laughed it off and was like, why would I go to that? I'm not going to that. She was also at Alexia Umansky's wedding, which is Kyle Richards' daughter. And they asked her if they could film her. And she said, no, you're going to just have to film around me, like blank me out. So it's just really interesting that she's saying things like that. What else did she say?
That stuff personally pisses me off because it's like, dude, yes, Lisa Rinna was an actor. But she wasn't an actor of any sort of substance. And I don't mean she still was. She still was a working actor. Melrose Place, soap operas.
She's got an IMDb.
She got, she was a working actor, but she wasn't in like these high profile projects in terms of movies or anything like that, or even respected the way Harry Hamlin had been at some point. She was a personality, right? She even did an early season of Dancing with the Stars. She's been around. But I think Housewives gave her a venue and a forum and in kind of a outreach that she hadn't had before in terms of fandom for her. And I think it resurged her career, like a huge career resurgence for Lisa Rinna after this. I mean, she sold Depends diapers on TV. I mean, she did whatever she needed to do to make ends meet. But I think the Bravo gave her such a huge career or a different kind of career. And so I find it really sometimes shitty for her to then bag on Bravo in the press or be like, you'll have to shoot around me. I'm like, okay, be that way. Like, if you want to be that way, she has a book coming out in a couple of months, you guys. And I think, why not go to BravoCon? Why not promote your book? So it just shows when she says this, that there is still a sting. Now, she said she left the show, but remember, Bravo never outwardly fires anybody. And if they do say you are not coming back, they will allow you to make a statement saying that you have decided not to return. So just keep that in mind. So if somebody makes that statement, and then they bag on Bravo or they bag on Andy or they bag on any of it, then those two things don't add up. So I still think she got butthurt about something and her not coming back. So we'll see. But I do believe she will be back on Beverly Hills at some point.
You do? It's crazy how far they'll take their anger because, or maybe it's like you said, I feel like right as soon as she got not fired, she was kind of panicking for a minute. I was kind of like getting that vibe. But then, like you said, she went on and did so many amazing things. And so maybe in her mind, she felt like, oh, I don't need them. Right. But like you said, these are all connected. It's all NBC Universal. Like, don't bite the hand that feeds you because you're going to cross paths again.
You never know what your next job is. And, I think NBC Universal and Bravo, they keep you in the family. They will use you and use you and use you if you play ball. And listen, if you don't want to play ball, that's fine. But like sometimes, and if you can, listen, I think if this season of Beverly Hills wasn't as weak as it has been so far, I don't think we'd be having this discussion about Lisa Rinna coming back at some point. It's like Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, where I'm like, oh, they need Monica Garcia or they need Jen Shaw. And then they're like, oh, no, it's great without any of those people. So it depends. There's so many factors in like coming back to a reality show. I think if Beverly Hills continues at this pace, they will offer Lisa Rinna to come back.
It's just so funny because weren't we as the fandom, and I don't mean me specifically because I was fine with her being there, but weren't the fandom wanting her off the show? And so I feel like we as the fandom, and we've talked about this before, Ryan, we don't know what we want.
I wanted her off the show. Listen, I wanted her off the show because, like I said, I just believed it was so performative by the end that I didn't even feel like I was watching anywhere near a real person. But
Mhm.
I mean, that happens a lot on these shows. You can't help but happen to like be affected over the years, and it becomes more of a working relationship with these ladies than actual friendships. But I will say, watching this week's episode of Beverly Hills, I was so bored by most of it that you're like, oh God, well, at least Lisa gave me something to make fun of. You're like, it's
Right?
tough, and that's why I
It's
think
so true.
fans never are and should be involved in casting decisions because, it's like good for us to yell and scream, but at the end of the day, they don't take us into account as much as you think they would.
Mm-hmm. No, for sure. I mean, she's even been saying on recent podcasts that she thinks that the show, like, is completely sinking. She's called it the Titanic. We all know it's a fucking Titanic.
She said that in front of Andy Cohen, by the way, on his radio show, I believe.
Then she's like, I'm sorry, but then like, not really.
Yeah.
I still call it a Titanic, right? And it's wild that she'll go up against him like that. It's kind of reminiscent of Bethany Frankel and how angry she got to the point of where she started that revolution, right?
But the difference is Bethany Frankel had become a multimillionaire at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Lisa Rinna is not in that financial situation that Bethany was.
Yeah, I think it's a risk.
I do agree that like Bethany, it's like a very similar in how they speak about it, but Bethany had a little bit more financial backing at that point, or had a little bit more, Lisa financially is not at that place that Bethany is. So
right.
Remember how many products Lisa Rinna tried to launch during the course of her time on Housewives. We were about to get Lisa Rinna wine, which came and went because she didn't have a season of reality TV to promote that wine on.
I want to be part of those conversations that she has with Harry Hamlin and her team or whatever it is, because I'm so curious why they make the decisions they do. I really am. But yeah, I am missing her on reality TV. I think this is the perfect venue for her. This or House of Villains, except this show is just so much better. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the thing about Lisa
is this is so
cunning.
much better.
She's cunning. You know what I mean? She's going to be so good in all aspects of this because she's manipulative. And I mean that in such a complimentary way, for the purpose of this show. She's manipulative. She's cunning. She can make someone believe that she really cares about them and then like drop them at the drop of a hat, right? Like
100%. She's perfect for that. I totally agree. But she is funny. She said that the Housewives was the longest job I have held in my 35-year career. When she was announcing her departure. But I think that's interesting too for somebody that's been in showbiz to have one job that lasted as long as she lasted on that show. That is a feat. And it gave her, like now she's walking the runways at certain fashion shows. Now she's the one that wears the crazy costumes. No, it's couture, honey. She is a name, she might be kind of a kooky Hollywood Squares type name, but she is a name. So I think she will very much succeed on the Traitors, 100%.
I agree. Oh, and to clarify, she was on the show for 8 seasons, 2014 to 2023. But one other thing I just wanted to mention about her is just her confidence as well is going to really help her in this space, right? You never really see her crack, and that's going to be good.
Yeah. Well, you never see her crack unless by design.
Yes.
Because when she would cry on Beverly Hills, I was like, oh, well, she's just making a move right there. She's like pivoting because this isn't working. So she's going to tears right now. So yeah, I think you will see her crack, but it will be a crack by design where she wants you to see her crack to have like pity or sympathy for her.
I am most jazzed about her out of like all of the cast members for this show. Like, I think, again, this is just like the perfect castle for her.
Yeah.
Quite frankly.
Yeah. No, I think she's gonna slay on this show.
Slay all day.
Who do we have next?
Well, we have another housewife if you want to get into Candace Dillard Bassett, who I really miss. We haven't seen her in a while. We know her from The Real Housewives of Potomac, 2018 to 2024. She came in during the 4th season, and she recently had a baby, so we haven't seen her on our screens in a bit, but I'm so happy to have her back. Now, there's something that I wrote here that I want to read because the way I wrote it, I think is really impactful, if you'll allow me.
Yeah.
During her tenure on The Real Housewives of Potomac, Candace introduced us to her white husband's black penis, her cry angle, and her abusive mother who hit her with a purse. Thank you.
Yeah. That's great. No, I mean, iconic. I will say it is. This is why the Traitors is great, because they will remind you that you missed somebody. They will. You're like, oh, and she's perfect, and she's already coming with iconic looks on this show. And she was intense on Potomac. She also appeared on Real Housewives Ultimate Girls Trip in season 3. I think people sometimes forget about Ultimate Girls Trip. She graduated from Howard University with a degree in broadcast journalism. And I think that really, it shows. I mean, she's such a professional performance type person, like very different than Lisa Rinna, but very, I would say performative in this amazing way, where you could see her hosting your local newscast, or you could see her on the red carpet at like Access Hollywood. There are so many different things that I feel like she would have the ability to do. What I was fascinated with your research, that you say she served a term in the White House offices of public engagement and intergovernmental affairs under President Barack Obama and as a staffer for Obama's 2012 re-election campaign.
So this was actually on the show. When she entered the show, there was a scene of her, or sorry, not a scene, like a photo that they put up of her with Obama, right? So she's extremely intelligent, and she's a pageant girl. So having like the political acumen, the MBA, the broadcast journalism, but also the pageantry, that just makes her like a really interesting casting for this, don't you think?
No, 100%, 100%. I mean, she's very smart. She's very outspoken. I think people sometimes can be afraid of her, which I think is really is something that you can use to your advantage. She gave birth to Jet Maxwell Lee Bassett in October of 2024, correct? So she's a new-ish mom. And also, she is an amazing musician. She has one studio album, Deep Space, released in 2021. We were able to see the music video for Drive Back on one of the seasons of Real Housewives of Potomac. And I will say, I think that's one of the better Housewives albums out there. Like all like it's not joking. It's not, it's not Erica Jane. It's not Sheena Shea. It's like a real R&B album.
Totally. She's so incredibly talented, right? Like she sort of ended up being able to level her position on the Real Housewives to help sort of promote this and everything. But she's actually a talented singer. It's like you said, like not a joke. Like we're not as much as good as gold is like a vibe. it's a different kind of vibe. Like this is like really, really good music. I will get into something that happened on Potomac in a second, but I also just want to mention that I think that her contentious relationship with her mom is going to be really beneficial on the show. I currently do not have a relationship with my mom. We're estranged, but the time that were in each other's lives was very contentious, right? And I saw a lot of my relationship with my mom in Candace's relationship with her mom. And it is a strength to learn to have to battle personalities and decide when to keep pushing and when to back down. I think those are skills and talents that you build by having a difficult upbringing. And I think she'll be able to utilize some of those skills in this gameplay.
And my mom's dead.
Sorry, Ryan.
No, I'm sorry. No, that's what I kept thinking. I was like, no, but you're right. You're right. I mean, I think that's the interesting thing about gameplay. Any type of gameplay is that you're able to pull from your own life. You're able to pull from your own situations, your own family dynamics. And you're right. I mean, I didn't even think about that in terms of, man, she's used, and it almost makes you want to see Dr. Wendy on this show if they'll allow her a prison release, because she has a situation she's dealing with her mom on Potomac this season. So that's a really, really interesting point. And I wish in this show, when they're doing the talking head parts, that they would ask questions like that. Like, dealing with your mom, did this help you play this game? Like an exit interview for the Traitors? I think it would be so interesting to be like, oh, well, that actually did help me, because that is something that I didn't really think about, but it makes so much sense. Now, talk about the Monique Samuels of it all, because Monique has appeared back on this season of Potomac.
Right. So these two women were friends. Can you actually remind me, though, because I forget this part, what led to them not liking each other anymore? And then I can get into the aftermath of it, but I can't recall why they stopped being friends.
Listen, that was like a pandemic season for me, and I might have eternal sunshine that from my brain. But I feel like they were both snipping at each other,
Little things.
and I could be wrong, and I'm so sorry, you guys, but I don't know what the inciting incident. I just remember the winery where the glass came out, the hair was like insane, and
Yeah.
that just blew everything up. And people still argue Team Monique and Team Candace to this day.
That was wild. So we're at this winery, this venue. The ladies are there. I don't remember exactly what was said, but then Candace said, "Drag me, Monique," and "Drag me, Monique." And I think this all kind of started now that my memory's coming back to me a bit. It may have been just not about like contacting each other back or being on each other's side about something. I think that's sort of what rings a bell. And then I also remember there being a period of time where Candace comes to, I think it's Monique's like housewarming or something, and then Monique pretends to be asleep on the couch to avoid having to say goodbye to Candace. Do you remember that?
Yeah,
It's like a whole
bit,
thing.
yeah.
So they had this weird relationship, and then they just like went at each other. But a glass goes flying, and Monique just keeps going at her and is grabbing Candace's hair. Production, and I love when this happens. I love when a reality TV show gets so out of control that production has to fly in, or not fly, like physically push their bodies in.
They're
Like,
being
we saw that
chased around the building, around the winery. Like it was so gripping and so dramatic. And the crew, the guys on the walkie talkies, like it was really, really intense.
They're coming in, they're pulling them apart.
Yeah.
But the part that bothered me was like Monique would not let go of it, right? First of all, she kept trying to physically go back at her constantly, and production kept having to pull her back. But even I don't know about this day, but even until the day of the reunion, she never really seemed sorry, and she never really took accountability at all, right?
Well,
it was kind of insane.
This is the Monique binder season when she brought out
Right.
the binder. And this is not a popular. I mean, I said it many times. I was Team Monique during this. I mean, like, listen.
Oh, you were? Sorry. The way I was
I
physically seeing it, it was like she was not like. I just only mean in the sense of like we don't physically touch people.
You're right. Like if we judge by that litmus test, yes. But this is where I know it wasn't a popular thing that I said, was that if you are mouthing off in somebody's face again and again and again and again and again, if you put two and two together, you are eventually going to incite an incident. That still doesn't make it right. Of course, yes. But also, then it became this argument of, was she hit with the glass? And if I remember correctly, the slowing down and the freeze framing was that there was something, and this was so frustrating at the reunion, I remember as well, where I'm like, why couldn't we watch this clip together? Not us, the audience, but them as a cast, to really break down what happened, when, where, because I feel like a couple things were said at the reunion that weren't necessarily true. But now, fast forward, Monique has taken accountability, has said she is in the wrong. She
has? Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, I haven't been really keeping up with this season.
Well, that she is, has moved beyond that. And obviously she's no longer in a relationship with Chris Samuels, her ex-husband. And so she, and so it'll be very interesting to see if Candace eventually does return to Potomac and if Monique will still be there, and see what that relationship is like. But I grew to love Candace after that. But at that time, I was not really into Candace that season.
I mean, that just got crazy. They both ended up charging each other with assault. It was insane. And that's why I don't feel like they'll ever be able to come back. Like once you've like pressed charges against someone, I feel like your relationship is over. You know what I
mean? So they were both charged. Monique Samuels. So Bassett and Monique were both charged with second-degree assault of each other from the District Court of Montgomery County in Maryland. So they both were charged?
They both were charged because they charged each other.
Okay.
So I think first Candace charged Monique, and then Monique charged Candace. And then it's just like, okay, you guys.
Charging them. There was them suing each other.
Yes. Yeah. So that's great, you guys.
Well, Candace is somebody that I think she's very dynamic. It's great to see her back on TV, and I'm excited to see what happens. Also, I'm excited to see her get into it with somebody. I want to see how she is in a fight now as a new mom, removed a couple of seasons from Housewives, and, how she handles conflict now.
Do you think people want to see the cry angle? Do you think she's going to pull it
Yes,
out because people really
100%.
want it? They're yearning for it?
You will see the cry angle. I will bet. I would be willing to bet like $30 on it. I mean, she's gonna.
So then that's probably how she still handles conflict.
And by the way, the cry angle, it's a prop to us, but it's real to her. She really uses a cry angle. So I think there is I wouldn't be surprised if she goes into every round table with cry angles ready to go.
I love that for her.
Yeah. Okay, so next we have a gamer next. And this is great because a lot of people, like I said, if you're housewives, you're usually not watching the gamer shows. But Natalie Anderson, she's best known for Amazing Race season 21 and season 24 and Survivor San Juan del Sur. Is that correct?
That is correct. Now, are you an Amazing Race and Survivor watcher? Because I've never watched either show ever.
Survivor guy, Amazing Race. Like I've watched episodes and I've liked it. It's never been something that I've watched through a whole season of it. But right. Survivor, love Survivor. I had watched like the first 12 seasons of Survivor. I dipped out for a bunch of seasons and then returned to it about like 4 or 5 years ago. So I do not remember Natalie, but obviously she's a legend if she did both reality competition series.
I feel like we have a few people, though, who have done both shows. Yeah. And I love that that's like a fun crossover thing now. I mean, this is literally another reality show that we're talking about, but I love when we get to see these people on multiple types of shows. So she's apparently a twin, and she appeared with her sister Nadia on season 21 of Amazing Race. They were known as the Twinnies, and they also did Survivor together. They were born in Queens, and they moved to Sri Lanka when they were 3, and they were there during the Civil War, but then moved to Connecticut when they were 13. They were both track stars and captain of the swim team, moving on to rugby. So these are girls who are like sports people.
But also moving during the Sri Lankan Civil War. I mean, like that's so intense. I mean, I feel like that almost makes you're built differently. Like having, even though you were of such a young age, that kind of stuff, I don't think you can help but be molded by it.
For sure. And she's 13, right? So it's old enough to remember. It's old enough to have that be a part of like your story for sure.
And to move to Connecticut from Sri Lanka to Connecticut?
That's where Countess Luann is. Is that not where she's from?
Yeah. It's great.
But she was actually studying physical therapy before she went on The Amazing Race. So, the body sports have always been her thing. They appeared on the season that used a blood versus water theme. Now, can you walk me through what all of this stuff means? Because I don't understand the gameplay at all, but this is what I was able to gather here.
They switch it up. I mean, it depends. It's usually symbolic things, but it's usually just how they split up the teams or something, or mainly their titles, but for this season, let me see.
It says that they pitted, like the blood versus water theme is to pit pairs of loved ones against each other, which is kind of fucked up.
Where returning players compete against their loved ones, family, or romantic partners, but the pairs are split onto separate tribes, testing if blood is thicker than water, as they often have to vote each other out, creating high drama and emotional gameplay.
Okay, so that's what happened here because Natalie was on the Hanapu tribe, while Nadia was on the Kayopo tribe. So these were opposing tribes. Nadia gets eliminated from the competition first. Natalie gets to remain, which is why I guess she gets to be on the Traitors. I wonder what happens at home. Like one of you gets cast on the Traitors, one of you doesn't. The jealousy, right? The fire. I would love to see two sisters actually competing against each other on the Traitors, quite frankly.
I have no information about this, but you never know. There are players that have been dropped into mid-season of the Traitors, Kate Chastain being one of them. Who knows? Maybe her twin sister will pop up on this season of the Traitors. We don't know. I mean, I could see as a producer that being kind of an exciting thing if you found the right way to use it. But yeah, I mean, it's got to be interesting when you are competing for reality competition series spots because there's only so many reality competition series.
No, for sure, right? And I just wonder, like, yeah, if your jealousy just gets so bad where you're like, I wonder what their relationship is like today, or whether she's really happy for her sister. Who knows? But she ends up winning Survivor that season. She gets the $1 million grand prize, which is amazing. And then she also competed on Survivor Winners at War. I know that Survivor does all of these sort of like, what do they call them? Like, what do you call these? Like special episodes, I guess, are what these are, or special seasons, like All Stars, things like that.
We're on the precipice of Survivor 50, which brings back iconic players through the 50 seasons of Survivor. That's going to start in a couple months here.
Well, then she also went on The Challenge, too, season 36, and was initially paired with Wes Bergman, who we know from last season of The Traitors. Was voted into elimination in episode 1, where she defeated opponent Ashley Mitchell. And then she ended up being deemed medically unable to compete because she was pregnant, which, of course, is a horrible medical condition. I wish her the best.
And especially to be around Wes when you're pregnant. That's going to be horrible as well. But that, I mean, God, she already seems like this iconic player. I also want to point out she won $1 million on Survivor. And what year was that? Do we have the year on what Survivor
it was
season? Well,
I just know it was season 21. I don't have the exact year.
But 21 of that's a long time ago, and the Traitors prize pot is $250,000 that you have to split. You know, usually you have to split. So she won $1 million. 29 seasons ago on Survivor. And so that's why I've always said you got to get that prize pot up. I don't care if these are pseudo celebrities. You got to get that prize pot up. I feel like it's completely, I think it hurts the game in a sense.
Do you remember the guy from Survivor who won $1 million and then he didn't claim it on his taxes and he went to jail?
Yeah, Richard Hatch. He was from season 1 of Survivor. Season 1. He was the nudist.
Wanted all the money.
Yeah, amazing. You know, he's still kicking. He still pops up on shows from time to time.
He's got to make it back. All right, let's move on to Mark Ballas, who we know from Dancing with the Stars. Now, you're a big Dancing with the Stars fan, right?
Well,
you and Rebecca?
Now we are. This season was our first season, and we were enraptured by it. We really both thought we weren't going to like Dancing with the Stars, and we ended up loving Dancing with the Stars. And Mark Ballas, we loved him. Rebecca especially loved him because he was paired up with Whitney Levitt, and they crushed it this season.
Okay, then I'm going to let you take this one because I'm not a Dancing with the Stars person. My first season was actually last season with Ariana Madix because I felt like we just had to watch it for her. But yeah, I'm not that into the show. So, he's a longstanding person on the show. He has a really interesting backstory. Why don't you take us through it, Ryan?
Cool. So Mark Ballas is an American professional Latin and ballroom dancer, choreographer, musician, and actor. Mark's paternal grandfather was George Ballas, and he was the inventor of the Weed Eater lawn trimming device.
Very cool.
So he comes from good stock.
Fun fact.
At the age of 11, he earned a full-time slot at the Italia Conti Academy of Theatre Arts in London and earned a full scholarship. So at the age of 11, he is already traveling to start training. In 2005, he was awarded Performer of the Year. He then moved on to win championships at the British Open to the World, the U.S. Open to the World, and the International Open to the World. With his former partner, Julianne Hough, he won the Junior Latin American Dance Championship and the gold medal at the Junior Olympics. I will say, just even from watching this one season, all of these dancers, they all know each other. There's this long history of dance. And even like the judges, Lynn Goodman, who passed away, who was one of the original judges on Dancing with the Stars, he had been, like, they all knew each other. They all were aware of each other. So I think the dance community itself, it's really fascinating really the more you learn about it. And it does seem really small, and it seems very competitive. As an actor, Ballas played the lead role of Tony in the musical Copacabana and was the lead dancer in the UK national tour of the Spanish musical Maria de Buenos Aires. On September 6th of 2016, it was announced that he would be the final actor to portray the role of Frankie Valli in the Broadway cast of Jersey Boys before it closed in 2017. And on May 26th of 2018, it was announced that he would play the role of the teen angel in the 2018 Toronto revival of Grease. You guys know the teen angel part of the Grease, the movie, right? You guys remember that. So he did that. And then from September 11th, 2018 to November 18th of 2018, so only, like over a 2-month run, he played Charlie Price in the musical Kinky Boots on Broadway. And in July 2022, he appeared as Harry in the Hollywood production of the same show. So he was out there doing Broadway musicals. He's been on Dancing
These are
with the
huge
Stars.
parts, like amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing actor, obviously, if these were the kinds of roles he was getting.
And obviously, this is like Whitney now is moved on to Broadway. She's going to be starting Chicago very soon. So it's not uncommon for these people to pop up on Broadway. So in 2007, he has appeared as a pro on the competition program, winning the series 3 times. He has won the series 3 times. On the 5th season of Dancing with the Stars, he was partnered with Cheetah Girls star Sabrina Bryan. And October 30th of 2007, the pair was voted off the show, and they have been the only couple invited back for an exhibition dance.
Okay, what's an exhibition dance, Ryan?
Well, I think they do these like a certain, like the cha-cha. I think that's, I could be mistaken that they brought them back to do a cha-cha, but I've seen even this season, who did they bring? They brought back, Tony, or the guy that won The Bachelor last season. They brought him back and he did a dance and he was damn good. I was like, wow, that guy's really good. He's also on season 6, he was partnered with Olympic gold medal winning figure skater Christy Yamaguchi, and they won the season. Mm-hmm. For season 7, Ballas was paired with reality television star Kim Kardashian, and they were the 3rd couple eliminated, finishing in 11th place. So this is also one of those things, this isn't about Mark, but about Kim, is that's in 2008. Never give up, folks. Never give up. You know, like Kim back in 2008, she was a celebrity that would go on Dancing with the Stars. You know, like that's still a great place to be, right? But it's not the Kim. Kim wouldn't do Dancing with the Stars now if you gave her, it's just, there's a different layer of celebrity now with Kim Kardashian.
There is, but she also notoriously is a bad dancer and has said that about herself, right? And this is a huge, big opportunity. So I wonder if she would do it today. I mean, she has said that I will never dance. She won't even dance at her own wedding kind of person, right? Or she won't even dance in front of the mirror kind of person. But, you know,
well, first off,
this is the kind of person that you give her enough money, she might do it.
But if you know you can't dance, she still went on a show Dancing with the Stars. So
that's why I don't understand. First of all, I don't understand why this show is so... why every reality star wants to be on it. I don't get why it's the top level for everybody, because it seems like Sheena, Tom, everybody was prepping for Dancing with the Stars.
I used to make fun of Dancing with the Stars, or I didn't get it as well, but then you see how hard these people work and how serious they take it, and you realize it really is. It becomes like this performance-based show, and I think with the natural horrors of the world that we live in, there is something very escapist. And I even think a very different form of escapism than reality television, which can be really negative and dark. There's just this layer of not toxic positivity, but there is this layer of working hard at this thing. And if you do good, you could really blow people away. I didn't really give a shit about Alex Earl until this season. And then I was like, wow, she's really good at this. It really impressed me. It made me see her in a different light. But Kim, unfortunately, was not one of those people. She got 11th place, close to the bottom. For the 8th season of Dancing with the Stars, he was paired with another Olympic gold medal winning gymnast, Shawn Johnson. And they won that season's competition in 2009. He was also partnered with actress Melissa Joan Hart for the 9th season, and they were voted off in week 6 and came in 9th place. For season 10, he was partnered with 90210 actress Shannon Doherty, and they were the first couple. How the fuck did they eliminate Shannon Doherty, the first couple out?
It was a long time ago.
I know, 2010, but Shannon and Mark held a higher average than a few celebrities who lasted longer than they did, it says. So,
yeah.
But then it's interesting. For season 11, he was partnered with Bristol Palin, Sarah Palin's
I don't remember this at all, do you?
They made it to the finale and finished in 3rd place. For season 12, he was partnered with Disney Channel star Chelsea Kane, and they finished in 3rd place. He earned a nomination for Primetime Emmy Award for Outstanding Choreography for his work on the show that season. For season 13, partnered with Kristen Cavallari. They finished in 10th place. For season 14, he was partnered with classical singer Katherine Jenkins, and they made it to the finale where they finished as the runners-up, losing to Donald Driver and Peta Murgatroyd.
She's still 15, on the show, I believe, right?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I believe so, yes.
Yeah.
And I think she's married or with one of the other dancers, if I'm not mistaken. For season 15, he returned with season 11 partner Bristol Palin before being eliminated in week 4. In week 7, he danced with his former partner Sean Johnson because her partner Derek Huff suffered a neck injury.
So I don't know. Did something weird happen that season where they got to bring back other people who had been on the show before?
It might have been an all-star season.
Okay.
But this is. It probably was an all-star season because if Sean Johnson was there, it was probably people that came close.
That makes sense.
But then this is interesting. He was paired with two-time Olympic champion Allie Reisman, who we spoke about earlier in the Colson Underwood segment, the Olympian. And since season 16 had 4 couples reach the finals for the first time, Allie and Mark were able to become finalists, but they were eliminated, landing in for 4th place. For season 17, paired with Christina Milian, and they were the 4th couple eliminated despite receiving the first 10s of the season, or the first 10 of the season. Season 18, he was partnered with Full House Candace Cameron Bure, and they made it to the finals, ended in 3rd place. For season 19, he was partnered with Duck Dynasty star Sadie Robertson and finished in 2nd place behind Alfonso Ribeiro, who's now one of the hosts of Dancing with the Stars. For season 20, he was paired with the star of the Hunger Games film series, Willow Shields. And the couple was shockingly eliminated in week 7, finishing in 7th place, and they had received high scores, so that was a shocking elimination. For season 21, partnered with actress Alexa Penavega, and they were shockingly eliminated in week 9, despite having a perfect night, and they finished the competition in 6th place. For season 22, paired with UFC mixed martial artist Paige Van Zant, and they made it to the finals of the show, finished in 2nd place. And he was then not a part of seasons 23 and 24, those seasons. He was not part of the cast. And he did speak about this a little, I think, in his interview on Call Her Daddy with Whitney Levitt, and said he was dealing with injuries. They were having a family, there was a lot of things, and he just didn't know, he said this is very intense, his work on the body. And so he was really working on his overall health. But he was lucky enough, or the show was lucky enough to have him back on season 25, and he was paired with violinist Lindsey Sterling, and they made it to the finals and finished in 2nd place. And then it looks like he took off the next 5 seasons of the show. And he returned to the show for season 31, and he partnered with social media personality Charlie D'Amelio, and they won the competition. So this made it his 3rd win on this show, and his first win, reminding you, on season 8. And then this current past season, season 34, Whitney Levitt, and they finished in 6th place. But man, this got so much attention. Whitney Levitt got so much attention. In fact, they filmed what would have been their final dance for Call Her Daddy. You can find that on YouTube. It's really magnificent. And it really was one of those things, like the artistry, because remember, Mark choreographed this as well. He was also playing instruments. Like, he was playing the guitar riff on the Green Day song that they used in one of the songs. Like, this guy is so multi-talented, and now he's on this season of the Traitors. So it's going to be interesting to see how his personality fits in with all of these people. But there are so many controversies with this show. There is obviously with Whitney Levitt on this past season, where they offered to give tickets to viewers out there, we'll pay for your flights and accommodations, and we'll give you tickets to the live shows. But this was against the rules, because this is almost like buying votes in a sense. This is not permitted by the show, so they had to cancel this giveaway. And they said it was purely innocent. They just wanted to do this for the fans. But they were going to.
But what do you think? Do you think that there was something sinister behind it?
I really don't. I think, I think they're trying to build excitement. I mean, that's, but I don't think they were maneuvering in that sense, but, I definitely see why rules are in place against that, though. And I think once that was found out, they took that down. So I'm happy that it was taken down. But this was a shocking elimination, though. And Ballas received a lot of hurtful messages about working with Whitney from Mormon wives, and saying that, I hope you fucking burn in hell one day. You're completely worthless. And I feel like in 2026, this makes me so sad. It's like, if you are a success, you are going to deal with an ungodly amount of hate. An ungodly amount of hate.
Well, I wanted to ask you, Ryan, because when you say that they got a lot of attention this season, and as I said, I didn't watch, what kind of attention were they getting? Were people really into their dances, or were people hating on them? Like, what was the attention that they were getting?
They were. Whitney was a very divisive character on Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, and so I think they were getting that backlash. They were, I think that was the main backlash they were getting. But
she wasn't doing new things.
No, I mean, like, I think people just didn't like Whitney, but I think people so disliked Whitney, and she was so good on Dancing with the Stars, that I think it really won a lot of people over, myself included, because I still didn't like her on this season of Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, but it was like, she's living her truth. She came back to this show just to do Dancing with the Stars because it was her dream. And I think, sometimes she gives that TikTok face where you're like, her face is so built for like internet usage. And I think he was taking a lot of blowback for that. But yeah, I mean, he's married. He became engaged in November of 2015, and his wife, BC Jean, they welcomed a son on November 5th of 2023. And he's also a member of singer-songwriter duo Alexander Jean, along with his wife, BC Jean. So they do like this little duo together. So he's an actor, singer, dancer. He does it all, like you said. He's so multi-talented that why wouldn't he be good at this? Like, we just have to assume he will be, just based on him just being the most multi-talented person on earth. It feels like. No, I mean, it really does. But I'm curious to see if he's comfortable being himself in this, it's like when you're not dancing, are you good at the gameplay part of it?
That's interesting because as an actor and as a dancer, he is playing a role. He's playing a part, even in the dances, right? Like, you're playing a character, and this may be his very first time playing himself. You're right. And that may really be a culture shock for him.
Yeah, I think, you get these little pieces on Dancing with the Stars where they're rehearsing and he's themselves. But when you're playing something that doesn't involve dance, how do you come off, and will your audience accept that or just be excited that you're there in the first place?
Yeah. I think.
Okay, who do we have next?
Rob Cesternino. So I first knew this guy through his podcast called RAP, which stands for Rob Has a Podcast. And when I started podcasting, the Bravo Investigator podcast, guys, have a listen if you have a chance. But I sort of started to try to like stalk other podcasters, see who was doing what, who's really popular based on what they're doing. And I come across this guy and I'm like, how did this guy create this entire kind of conglomerate of podcasting? He's got like a bajillion podcasts. He covers every show. He covers reality TV, scripted, everything. Yeah. And then when I started looking more into him, I'm like, oh, he's not a nobody. He's from Survivor. And I'm like, oh, okay. So I just thought he was just some random nobody like us, Ryan, right? Just somebody who created like the biggest podcast network sort of out there. But it turns out he has this background from Survivor. So that's really interesting. He was on the Survivor the Amazon in 2003 and Survivor All Stars in 2004. So he has like a really interesting background because he has like this whole
gameplay. He understands gameplay, and then he's managed to really build a podcasting empire.
That's a great word.
Yeah, I mean, really, like he does all like Survivor, Big Brother, The Amazing Race, but every show. He's one on the Traitors right now, and he has had it in the past. So this is like a formidable opponent, somebody that really breaks down strategy, and I think that's insane. And you pointed this out. His Patreon currently has 17,384 members.
But again, I think that's because there are so many podcasts within Rob Has a Podcast. So it's like the 90 Day Fiancé feed, the Love is Blind, whatever it is. So I think that within his podcasting network of all the shows that fall under Rob Has a Podcast, that's how many Patreon members are included in total. But still, it's absolutely amazing. And he's not really the host of most of the shows. He offsets it to other people. And all of these people are amazing. It's actually one of my favorite podcasts after, of course, So Bad It's Good with Ryan Bailey.
Sure, yeah. He has won 5 podcast awards. I don't even know.
How many have you won, Ryan?
I think 0. Zero. I mean, you never know.
That's a podcast award.
But most notably, his podcast beat the hit podcast Serial in the category of People's Choice Podcast of 2014. And I don't know what these awards are, but that's insane because Serial, hit like nobody's business. I listen to Serial every week on that first season.
Yeah.
But he graduated.
But then he also has this background in broadcasting, right? Isn't that interesting that he's got like this gamer background, the podcasting background, and then the broadcasting background that we are seeing that a lot of these people have, which is so interesting that they ended up finding their way into reality TV, starting off with a background in broadcasting.
Yeah, he graduated from SUNY in 2000 with a BA in broadcasting. And this is what I would love to read. His college thesis, you guys, was titled The Impact of Reality Television. And that was in the year 2000. So 2000, he was already, which would be great to get a revamp of that paper, of what is that paper like in 2026? So much has happened in those 26 years. So this was somebody that was really taking shows like Survivor very seriously all the way back then. And when he appeared on Survivor, he was employed as a computer projects coordinator for an insurance agency, which just goes to show you your life can completely, you live many different lives in your life. And, it's, one of those things to always take a chance. He originally applied to compete on Big Brother, the third season, and he advanced to the final stages of the casting process, but was not selected to appear on the show. Remember, Big Brother was on CBS, the same network as Survivor. And they, I believe, used the same casting director. Several months later, he was offered an opportunity by a casting producer who remembered him from Big Brother for the casting process for Survivor.
And we do hear about that happening a lot with reality shows. Like even that girl, Casey from Love is Blind, like she was asked to do 2 other reality shows before Love is Blind. So I guess they kind of like find a person they like and then try to find the right fit.
This season of Vanderpump Rules, we have the cousins that appeared on the Netflix reality shows. Once you're in that kind of data bank, you are up for I think you're going to see that this happen more and more and more. He is also married. He married his girlfriend, longtime girlfriend, Nicole Palmieri, and they have 2 children. So he is a dad as well, to Dominic and Anthony Joseph. So that's great. And then 2003, like you said, was Survivor the Amazon. And he was assigned to the all-male Tambaqui. They always just make up the most insane names for these tribes. He kept a low profile early in the game following orders from the older tribe members, and he used his self-deprecating humor to disarm potential rivals. And then
you would do that. You would use self-deprecating humor to disarm people. That would be your vibe.
It's not to disarm. That's just how I am. So I don't know if it would be strategy. It would just be how, I always think about how I would play this game, and I just don't know. How you stop from being yourself. I think I would be so caught up in just trying to exist that I don't know if strategy would come into, I don't know. It's interesting, like to think of it as strategy. So, but it is something that can disarm people or let people in and let them know that they're on your level. And that can be good. That can be good and bad. Once the tribes merged, he then began forging multiple alliances and striking deals with other players. And most Survivor contestants in prior seasons tended to remain with their original alliance. Rob frequently flipped between groups, double-crossing allies, and dictating the game strategy, which that is really important. So he was making big moves. He was, he was really trying.
But he's a flip-flopper like Sheena in a way.
He's a flip-flopper like Sheena, but he was doing that in order for his own personal game. That's the hard part of Survivor, is that you can only stay with your group for so long, and you're going to have to make big moves. You're going to have to make big plays. And so it's a very frustrating, or as Lisa Barlow would say, a frustrating game to play, because you never know who you can trust, and you will be blindsided. You will absolutely be blindsided in Survivor, and you will not see it coming.
I do have to say, don't you feel like that in Housewives too? You don't know who to trust? Because I was just recapping yesterday Southern Charm and Salt Lake City. And I feel like on both of those shows, we have people saying like, I don't feel safe in this group of people. I don't feel safe around you guys. And so I feel like that concept of who to trust, even when you may have started off as a group of real friends in the first place, like Southern Charm, not like Salt Lake City necessarily, but even if you started off as friends, they become a game. We all talk about that. We talk about that in Housewives all the time, about it being a game of alliances, right? And so I just think it's so interesting that we have these shows that are literally competition shows. That is what they are designed to be. But now we have these housewife shows that have become essentially competition shows where they're competing with each other and trying to one up each other or bring one down, right? And they become sort of a competition show within itself where they feel like they can't trust their opponents within the team.
Yeah. Well, I mean, listen, I even this most recently on this season of OC, I always talk about Tamara treats the OC like a game of Survivor or the Traitors. They've gamified Housewives, which was initially set out to be documenting, a group of women that are friends. And, they've turned it into this kind of gameplay, which is so funny because Tamara in her season was really not good at Traitors. She got voted out rather early, or she didn't get to play the game enough to even be considered good. So, it's really interesting, and I have a lot of respect for Rob, and I have a lot of respect for him just because of the podcast, let alone he actually played these games. So, of course, his podcast already has this huge leg up because you're always going to listen to somebody that's been there, that's been in the trenches and knows how these things are played. But it also puts a target on his back because once you are considered a gamer, like we said, you're considered as somebody that knows something that other people don't in reality competition series.
But I think, and I could be wrong because I don't know him, but he kind of gives me a vibe of like a nice guy as opposed to some of our other gamers who tried to come in previous seasons a little more scary and aggressively to try to scare their opponents. I feel like you could see Rob initially coming in where people are hesitant about him because of his knowledge, but his sparkling personality might just really win people over because they realize he's just a nice guy, but then he uses that to stab them in the back after.
Yeah.
Just a thought.
No, I mean, it's a great thought. I mean, we've had like Wes come in last season or Boston Rob, and they come in with a certain energy. Wes has been super intense. Wes is scary a little bit to some people. So, you use what you have. Cesternino was voted out on day 38 of 39 by Jenna Maraska, making him the 14th person eliminated and placing him third overall. And his performance, though, on Survivor is frequently cited as one of the best non-winning games in the history of the show.
That's interesting.
Yeah, and so much so that in 2004, he was invited back to play Survivor All-Stars as the member of the Capera tribe. And due to his impressive gameplay in Survivor the Amazon, he was considered like a strategic threat by other returning players. So he was the fourth person eliminated and the third voted out after a unanimous decision by his tribe mates, and he finished in 15th place. And then his fellow survivor, the Amazon castaway Jenna Maraska, who won that season, had already withdrawn from the game to be with her ailing mother, and she was never voted out. And then Cesternino was inducted into the Xfinity's Survivor Hall of Fame in 2012. Xfinity, of course, a cable company. So, who knows how serious their Hall of Fame is. But congratulations goes to Rob. But I think this is great. It's great for his show. It's great for him. And I don't want to say too much about the actual Traitors episodes, but this is a player that I would love to go far just to be able to see the moves, the way that they think. The way that they think, I think, is always something interesting to pay attention to really see if they are different, how they play differently. And if you say the housewives play emotionally and the gamers play more strategically, I want to know more about those things and how the gamer's mind operates.
I peg this guy as the kind of guy who has been doing research for 3 months, has all those murder boards sort of written out with the red lines and everything. And he's got all of these plays in advance. He's researched every person. He knows their mother's name. He knows their dog's favorite food. I gauge him as the kind of guy who really tries to prepare for this. And I think he'll go really far, not just because of his experience, but because he's a hard worker.
I mean, Survivor players, though, are notorious for, you're right, they practice, they will get games that, that have been played before on Survivor, and they'll practice puzzles, they are, the fandom of Survivor, and especially the people that apply to be on this show, it is so intense, and so, these are really, really skilled people at trying to play this game, and, it's me or you, if we all of a sudden decided to, I want to audition for Survivor, I don't think would stand a chance in hell, just because people have studied each one of these seasons backwards and forwards, and, there are games now within these competitions where you have to remember 45 seasons of Survivor to answer the questions in a certain like tribe game. And that's impossible to somebody that's like, oh, I just want to play the game. And I sometimes think the rise of gamers have sometimes hurt the games overall, because I think on Survivor especially, you see a lot of players now trying to make moments. They will blindside people immediately to try to like make big game plays because they think that's what wins the game. And it sometimes will take away the overall magic of the show, because you're like, God, just play, it's like, just you guys are all, you don't have to do these huge moves just because you're trying to build your own legend. It's not a victim of its own success, because it's still successful and people still love it. I still love it. But sometimes you're like, God, I wish we could go back to where everybody didn't know all 49 seasons of Survivor.
Yeah. But I feel like that's also something we could say about Housewives too. That's a very similar sentiment,
100%. Can't we say that about Stephen Colletti, though, our next contestant? I think most famously, to me, appeared in 2 seasons of Laguna Beach, which premiered in 2004. And remember, they are doing a Laguna Beach reunion this year. They've already shot the reunion, and it's going to be on. Is it going to be on Tubi? Or no? It's going to be on. What's the
Roku?
one with the city? Roku. Yeah, it's a Roku original. Roku original.
But what's so funny, and people are already mad about this, that his like little title card is One Tree Hill and not Laguna Beach. People are pissed about this already.
But I thought about this, because that's what they put the chyron up and saying, is that I can kind of understand. My question is One Tree Hill just more accessible to a wider audience than, say, Laguna Beach?
I guess I have to be honest, I'm afraid. So guys, don't come for me. I didn't know he was on One Tree Hill. That being said, I didn't watch One Tree Hill, but I know him from Laguna Beach. I think that is what he's known for.
Yeah, but
that's why people are mad.
But see, that could be us in our little bubbles,
right?
Our extremely online bubbles that consider, and not undeservedly so, that Laguna Beach is an iconic reality television show. So,
absolutely.
I don't know. So, he did those 2 seasons. He then attended San Francisco State University for a year before returning to LA to pursue acting. In 2008, he appeared as himself on an MTV reality television series, The Hills Again, which was a spiritual successor to Laguna Beach. He had a temporary stint as an MTV VJ for MTV's Total Request Live, rest in peace. And in January 2007, he was announced as a major recurring role on the 4th season, starting with episode 12 of the CW teen drama series One Tree Hill. And he portrayed the role of Chase Adams, a high school student who plans to save himself until marriage, just like Colton Underwood.
Exactly. And, Full circle.
Over the course of the following seasons, he had a major recurring role. In 2010, he was confirmed to have been upgraded as a series regular, which is huge. So that was.
Did you watch the show? Is this like part of your youth?
My ex loved One Tree Hill. It was sometimes it's hard. Like, I love 90210, but then ever since then, it was hard for me to fully get into teen dramas. And One Tree Hill was that. But like, it is so insanely popular. It has such a fan base.
It really does. Like, given that I'm unemployed right now, I really should take the time and go watch this, because people are still to this day saying it's such a classic, and it's like one of those shows that you just have to watch.
It also it helped launch the career of Joe Manganiello. If you remember,
did it?
Yeah, he was a recurring role on One Tree Hill as a bartender, I believe. So yeah, a lot of really great people have passed through the One Tree Hill set.
Did you know he was in a Taylor Swift music video as well in 2009? Because I don't remember either.
I do not. He was in White Horse by Taylor Swift.
I guess he was still a teen heartthrob back then, right? I guess that's maybe why she wanted him for this. Of course. He went on to do this other show as well. Have you heard of this show that he did called Everyone is Doing Great? He worked on it with this other guy, James Lafferty. I think they are going into the 2nd season, if I'm not mistaken, and made it onto Hulu. But had you ever heard of this show? Did you know that he was doing this?
I heard of it. I've heard of it, but I never really. But it's something that was started with a crowdfunding campaign goal to fund their first season, right?
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, Coletti played the role of Seth Stewart and served as a writer, producer, and editor. And the series debuted on Hulu in January of 2021. He also directed one episode of the first season. So this guy, and if you notice, he is that overall good-looking kind of good guy. So he seems to be in that role that they try to fill each season, where it's like Pilot Pete from The Bachelor a couple of seasons
good
ago,
point.
or Dylan Efron last season, where it's like they're good, they seem wholesome, and will he shine? Will he be able to go like, oh, that's a really good guy, I like him, he's real, and then the ladies and the guys will be like, oh, he's hot too. Like, does he have abs? That's going to be big to find out.
Well, it's funny how we talk about how we change our minds about characters over time, because correct me if I'm wrong, but back in the Laguna Beach days, was he liked? Because the portrayal he was given was that he was a cheater, right? And he did talk about this a little bit on Kristen Cavallari's podcast, let's be honest. And he's like, they were sort of, I don't want to like blame editing or make things look like they weren't, but that's not exactly what was happening, and it's just, I mean, it's funny to like say all of that now, but like, do you feel like his acting career, all the other things he's done since have taken away that bad boy image that maybe he had in his youth?
I think this was a show set in high school. These were kids, like, I don't think he had a more bad boy than like the other. I mean, you had Spencer Pratt on that show. You had like, once we got to The Hills, you had like some really bad boys. I think Steven always managed to still be, still have somewhat of a decent reputation, to the point where I wasn't like this D-bag, but also The Hills and Laguna Beach were produced by Adam DeVello, and Adam DeVello, he scripts a lot of his reality television shows. He now does Selling Sunset and Selling the OC. And so that's a bummer about his shows, is that you really can never fully believe the narrative on an Adam DeVello show. And I think that's very, that's hard. That's hard as a viewer, because,
I like to believe my reality TV in full.
Well, I like to have my reality show real to some degree.
Yeah.
And if you are, and since, especially The Hills, they've all kind of been like, well, you don't really understand. This was happening then, and this was actually happening, and this didn't happen. And you're like, holy shit. And then you're kind of just like, wow, you were, no wonder a lot of these people went on to be actors, or in the entertainment field, because they were pretty damn good at keeping up a false narrative. But I never thought of him. I mean, I think I was old enough at the time where I was like, these are kids, man.
Yeah.
These are kids. And I thought he was still, I always viewed him as a pseudo good guy in compared to the other guys on those shows.
Fair enough, given we have seen a lot of trash over the last few years. But he is still currently doing a podcast with Kristen Cavallari called Back to the Beach, where they...
Is that still going on?
Yeah, it's still going on.
Wow.
Yeah, it's on the charts. It's charting.
So Kristen has a couple of different podcasts.
Yes. Yeah. So good for her. Good for them. Yeah. I'm curious to see that reunion, though, when that comes out. That should be good.
And Laguna Beach, guys, remember the love triangle was between Steven, Kristen, and Lauren Conrad. And, that show was created around this love triangle. But he just talks about, in that Back to the Beach podcast, right, about the narrative of those stories. I mean, it's hard. Like, I hate even reading quotes like this, because it just talks about fake narratives and the producers being involved. And, it also, like, Traitors is definitely not fake. The gameplay is not fake, but there is a lot of things like them, like, preparing for bed at night, is that we know as an audience, if you looked into it, they don't stay in the castle, they stay at a hotel. Like, they don't stay.
I didn't know that. Wait, I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Well,
wait, I didn't know that.
Yeah. I mean, none of them are legally allowed.
Wait, don't judge me for not knowing that. I didn't know that.
Yeah, no, like, they weren't really, I forgot which one had a 10.
Okay, well, on Special Forces, they really sleep on those, like, slats, and they're not eating real food, so.
They're not sleeping in the castle, unfortunately. Okay. I would love it if they were, but they're not. But that kind of stuff, I'm okay with falsifying. It's just when narratives are fudged on reality television that are trying to tell a story about real life, that is frustrating, I think, for me as an audience member.
Totally. And I feel like we only know him as him from reality TV when he was a teenager. But like you're saying, that was like partially scripted, manipulated. Then he became an actor, and he's not playing himself. So we actually don't know Steven Coletti. unless we listen to these podcasts that he's on. But I don't feel like I know him at all. So if you think about it, this is actually like our first entrance into
I'm really
adult
curious.
Stephen Coletti.
I'm curious to see how he comes off. I'm really curious to see, once we get into the gameplay aspect of it, what his role will be, and if he will fill that role that I was talking about.
Yeah.
Next, we have an interesting casting choice. We have Ron Funches, who is a stand-up comic. And he began his career in Portland, Oregon at the age of 23, moved to Los Angeles in 2012. And he appeared in several comedy series like At Midnight, if you guys remember that game show hosted by Chris Hardwick, the Mulaney Show that used to be on NBC. I believe that was only one season, and the Kroll Show with Nick Kroll. From 2014 to 2016, he started as a regular on the NBC series Undateable. He's a voice actor in several series because his voice is very interesting. He'll be like,
"Oh, is it?"
Yeah, well, his voice, it'll be a little high, and they'll go, like, he's kind of like, you don't sometimes expect the voice to come out of his face and body. And
Okay.
I say that as a compliment.
Are you nervous about doing the imitations when you get to your recaps?
I probably will not. I mean, I'll steer away unless I think I have a certain take. But you guys don't understand what you're. And they'll go. It's just it's very up and down, which
that could throw people off. That's a thing.
It's a different thing, and I think it really serves him in stand-up comedy very well.
Interesting.
And that's why he's a voice actor in several series as well. But he has kind of been in everything. He's also worked as a writer on the Eric Andre Show. He does a lot of panel shows. He was a panelist back when Chelsea Lately was around still. In 2021, he hosted a spinoff of the Food Network series Chopped called Chopped 420 because he's also, or was, I don't know if he still is, a big weed advocate.
Weed
advocate, which is great. Funches had his first son, Malcolm, when he was 20 years old. But he also talks about his son's autism in his stand-up routine, and he always welcomes fans sharing their stories with him as well. He married Christina Dawn in August of 2020, and they had another son, his second child, in 2022. And then, unfortunately, in 2022, they separated. He's also a huge wrestling fan, which I think is really an interesting fact. Because if you're a wrestling fan, that's also strategic. It's also gameplay, and it's also performance. And so,
good point.
Performance, I think, is something that the Traitors really thrives on. So I think, you then are aware of making potentially big moves or speaking up when other people won't speak up, right? And he made his in-ring debut on GCW in September of 2021 in a match against Tony Deppen that featured Paul Scheer as his cornerman. Paul Scheer, amazing comedian and podcaster as well. That's really fun. In August of 2022, he started his wrestling podcast, One Fall with Ron Funches. He told podcaster Adam Carolla that he had once weighed 360 pounds and that over a few years, he lost around 140 pounds.
So I think there's a lot here, right? I mean, we can look at the weight loss as like someone who has a lot of dedication and commitment to hard work. The wrestling is really interesting. Like you said, it's a reality show in a sense. There's the performance, there's the strategy. Because when I looked at this initially, I'm like, a stand-up comic? Like what does a stand-up comic have to bring to the table? As somebody who was a failed stand-up comic, right? I have absolutely no idea what I would bring. But like all of these other little facets of him could be really interesting and could be potential, he could be like a threat to people.
Yeah, I mean, you really just don't know. I mean, that's why, and what I'm saying is that every casting decision is a decision that people thought about. They were just like, let's throw him in. Like, I really do believe this is very, very thought out. Not staged in any way, but thought out, and I think there are probably, I would be curious. I think some of these people are just cast completely, but I do wonder if they have interviews with people. Like, what is there any sort of, at this point, an audition process for the Traitors?
I bet there is. There is for sort of everything. I'm always surprised because even like Chicago, and it should be obvious, but like when they're casting people like Whitney or Ariana, there's still a huge audition process that they're involved in. Many like singing auditions, dancing auditions. They're, they don't just give it to them because they're a star. So it's, I bet they do. I bet they do. And I think they should, because like, let's say somebody is really good at God, I'm trying to think. Okay, remember that woman who was on The Real Housewives of Atlanta? I don't remember her name. She was on for one season. She cried the whole time, Mr. Family. She was an actress, right? If we think about someone like that, who you're like, okay, well, you're an actress. Let's put you on the
Oh, are you
show.
talking about Tootie from Facts of Life?
Sure, yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah.
So, it wasn't the right setting for her, right? But if production had just been like, oh, that's a person, that's an actress, let's ask her to be on the Traitors, no interview, she would suffer horribly because she'd be like, I miss my family, I don't want to be here. And I feel like some of those interviews could be beneficial to determining whether this is the right fit for you, even in this time or in this show or any of it,
100%.
right?
I do wonder if anybody has...
Sorry, that was random.
No, it's great. But I do wonder sometimes if you get there to Scotland and if anybody had homesickness, like first day of camp, where they're like, send me home. I want my family. Send me home.
Well, that's why Larsa insisted of bringing her boyfriend with her, right? Which was the only time that ever happened. But it's like, no, I can't be without him.
And now it's happily ever after with those two, with Marcus.
Now, here's my question. Were people doing coke in their bathroom?
Yeah, it would be great if somebody's... Well, yeah, I'm not going to talk about any spoilers. Okay. Wait, yes. So who do we have next?
We have Maura Higgins. So we know her from Love Island, but she has like kind of this crazy history of like building businesses and doing all this stuff. So we'll talk a little bit about that. But to be honest with you, I don't know how she was able to get all of these amazing opportunities, but she seems to have lived this life where, first she studied hairdressing and worked in a salon, but then she appeared as a grid girl and did like a bunch of modeling campaigns. She's obviously from the UK. I would assume that is some sort of modeling that I'm just not familiar with. Sometimes like there's swimsuit models. Sorry?
Is it for like the Instagram grid or what does it mean?
Grid girl. I don't know, man. I don't know.
Listen, I can see why she got, she's stunning. She has like this amazing, what is this, Irish accent that she a very thick brogue accent.
She's from County Longford.
And she's really funny. I think. I can see why she's gone this far. I think she actually has a personality.
Well, yeah, that's what's so interesting because she's done so many cool things. Oh, she worked as a ring girl in a professional boxer. That we know what that is. They're the ones that hold up the number.
Yeah, what a ring girl.
But then she started doing like big moves. She launched her first collection of luxury tan with Bella Mianta, which was followed by a second collection in 2021. She launched a clothing collection with Boohoo. We know them for sure. 2019, she launched a lingerie collection. She also, in that same year, is when she entered Love Island for its 5th series, and she entered the villa on day 10 as a bombshell, reaching the final alongside Curtis Pritchard and finishing in 4th place. So that's
this is not
really
Love
kind of got her on
TV. This is not Love Island USA. This is the overseas Love Island.
Right. But is it called Love Island UK? Or is that not? Or is there a third name?
I think it's just called, I
Love
always do it as Love Island because Love Island USA didn't exist yet.
Wait, but don't they have one that they call Love Island UK? And is that
maybe
a third
maybe
one?
That's it. That's
okay. Or maybe
Love
they changed
Australia. They have They have a bunch of different iterations, but Love Island, I guess UK would be the biggest one.
But it doesn't necessarily mean that you're from that place to be on the show because we've seen many people, even in Love Island US, who like Miguel, for example, right? Like he was an American. In January 2020, she won TV Personality of the Year at the Gossies Awards. Are you familiar with the Gossies Awards? I am not.
No clue what the Gossy Awards. I got to tell you though, there's a lot of award shows out there that aren't necessarily. It's like, hey, we could say we won the Gossies as well, and nobody would know better.
In all fairness, you're absolutely right. She also did Love Island After Sun, so I did enjoy seeing her on that. We've seen that. She was on Dancing on Ice.
After Sun, you guys, is like the talk show they do once a week where they'll interview the contestants kicked off and some like former cat. And she was the one that led it for Love Island USA.
Yeah, there aren't a lot of people who have come off of Love Island as contestants and have gotten to stay within the series. And so she gets to do the hosting of that and has continued to be like an integral part of the series until last year. And we were wondering where she was. And that's because she was filming for the Traitors, right?
Yeah.
So we also found out in September 2021 that she would be presenting the Irish version of Glow Up, Britain's Next Makeup Star. In April 2022, she won again with the Gossies for Best Female TV Presenter and Most Stylish Lady. Now, that award title right there, I bow down, right? Like, wouldn't you?
Stylish Lady. lady.
how you look right now, I want to give you the award for most stylish
thank
lady,
you.
Ryan.
I would like to give you the award right now. You look amazing as
Stop.
well.
Stop.
But I mean, that is interesting because then you would expect her to bring some iconic looks to this season of Traitors.
Oh, you're right. I forgot about the fashion of this show. We didn't even talk
Yeah.
about that. But like Sierra last year, she really brought the fashion. I could see Dorinda, Rinna. Oh, yeah, we're going to get some looks this year for sure. And then in July 2023, Higgins was announced as social media presenter for the 5th series of Love Island USA. And she appeared on the show to guest host a challenge. She also made a film debut in a movie called The Spin in September 2023, written by Colin Broderick. And October 2023, she was announced as a social media presenter for Love Island Games. I've never watched the games. Did you end up covering that? I feel like you did.
Very lightly, because it was another. I thought it was like once a week, but it was like a daily show again.
Oh my, another daily.
You're like, God, we just had gotten off of Love Island USA, and it was just a lot of Love Island.
It's too much. She ended up doing The After Sun again during 2024 for guest appearances. In November 2024, she was a late arrival on I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here. The only knowledge I have of that show is like Spencer and Heidi. I remember they did a season of that possibly. Yeah. But all right, good for her. She did that. She joined
the future mayor of California. Wow.
She joined on day 5. She finished in 7th place. So the guy that she dated from Love Island, the guy that she left with, Curtis Pritchard, they broke up in early March 2020. And, and then she dated this other guy. Sorry, who? Oh, Giovanni Pernice. Okay, yeah, he was a professional dancer. And they ended in October 2021. And then she dated Chris Hemsworth's body double, Bobby Holland-Hanton, from 2023 to 2024.
Not Chris Hemsworth, you guys. His stunt
the body double.
But that's pretty good. I mean,
that's pretty good.
That's like potentially the best thing about Chris Hemsworth. I'm joking, but that's a pretty good. Well, and also I want you to pay attention to Love Island USA and After Sun. That's Peacock. The Traitors is Peacock as well. So this is a way where they keep their casting in-house. And so all of these people have their eyes on Maura Higgins doing After Sun and getting good feedback. So it's this is a great casting from all sides, and especially for Maura. This could really even help her break out even further in America.
Yes, I was just going to say that she's going to be able to break into that American market so much easier. Yeah. Okay, then we have our sweetheart of the season. It's Donna Kelsey. This is such a fun casting decision. This is adorable.
It's adorable, but you do have to wonder, like, what, like, Ariana, what are you doing here? Like, why are, I know she's appeared in some, like, I think Hallmark films and stuff, but you just would are you wanting the limelight as well? Like, your sons are both football players, prolific podcasters, and now you want the spotlight as well. And are you somebody that's thirsty, or are you genuinely this nice person that everybody says you are?
Well, I guess I want to ask you, because I'm not I love Taylor Swift, but I'm not really deep in any of the lore. I don't know anything about these families. Do you keep up with the pop culture of all of this? Do you know anything about Donna Kelsey? Do you feel like she's thirsty, or based on your experience in pop culture? What do you think her vibe is?
I don't think she's thirsty, but then she has accepted certain things like the Hallmark Channel holiday films that she does.
How can you not accept?
You're like, that is true. And I think that's part of I think she's tickled to be invited to do these things. And if you think about it logically, you're like, yeah, you probably would be tickled to do these things. It doesn't necessarily mean you're thirsty, but the level of fame that her son is at, he's famous in his own right. But then if you throw Taylor Swift into the mix, you're like, whoa, that's a different level of fame than anybody. And what's interesting about Taylor Swift fame is that it trickles down. It trickles down to periphery family members. People know Taylor Swift's, brother, mother, dad, all of that stuff. And Travis, I know Donna Kelsey was a figure, obviously, because of her son's football careers, but now she has turned into more of a character, and she is now part of the Swifties lore. So, she seems like a really nice, sweet lady. All joking aside,
Yeah.
I always just am very suspect of anybody that wants to be on TV in the first place.
I guess I try to think of it and I could be wrong, but I think you are just sometimes given opportunities and then you feel weird to say no, right? I doubt she has an agent herself, right? I think she's just living her life. And then people are like, oh, she's so cute. Let's ask her to be in a movie, or let's cast her in the Traitors. Like, I feel like when people present you with opportunity, like I could be wrong. She could be going out there trying to get all these opportunities, but I kind of feel like maybe she isn't and people are just approaching her with them.
Well, listen, if
Or
you're
is
going
that
to get
stupid to
offered,
think?
no, I think people are approaching her, but I mean, she obviously has an agent at this point, and
True. Yeah, at this point.
If you're choosing between Dancing with the Stars and the Traitors, I'm going to go Traitors. If I'm like a 70-something-year-old, like I'm not going to put myself through Dancing with the Stars. I'll put myself through Traitors. Hell yeah.
Okay, well, you know what? I did a little bit of research on her and I found out some interesting facts, okay? So, her father actually opposed women participating in sports. What a douche. But she pushed forward anyway. She pursued track and field with the support of her stepmother. And during high school, she competed in the Junior Olympics, where she competed in track and field events. And she became the first in her family to graduate from college, earning a degree in radio and television from Ohio University. She also has an MBA. So again, really smart lady, and has maybe some of those gameplay factors from being involved in sports as a young girl.
Well, I mean, what I would just hearing that, I'm like, when is the Mama Kelsey podcast dropping?
Tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, by the way, I would not be surprised if that does happen.
Oh, it's so true. It's so true. And so obviously she was married to Ed Kelsey. They married in the 70s. They were together for 20 years. They are obviously the parents to Travis and Jason Kelsey. And like you said, she appeared in a couple of Hallmark Channel movies. One was called Christmas on Call.
Now, you guys. They were
yes,
married for
did I not mention? Oh, sorry. Yes, they're divorced. And then she did have a whole 30-year career in banking, working for MasterCard, which that's kind of cool. I wonder if you get any special perks by working for MasterCard.
Free money,
in 2024, she was named one of Glamour's Women of the Year. This is interesting. They recognized her for her role as the mother of two professional football players. Okay, I mean, it sort of reminds me of when Amal Clooney was named the most, I don't know if it was this same thing, but it was something like this, the most interesting person of the year. And then when news people were talking about it, they're like, we don't know much about her. We find her very mysterious and interesting. And it's like, she's the person of the year just because she was able to get the most famous bachelor to settle down, but you actually know nothing about her. That's why she's the most interesting person of the year. So she's the most interesting person of the year because she raised two sons. That's weird.
Well, no, I mean, listen, that is a feat in and of itself, but, you
Sure.
have to, at that point.
Lots of people are moms, though.
But the Taylor Swift relationship is in full bloom in 2024. Sure. So that's a big, all of this is, I don't want to say that's the only reason because it's not. Her sons are both famous, but the Taylor Swift fame, that's more of Glamour magazine. How many articles have they done on Taylor Swift in these last couple of years? So I think that's obviously,
that makes sense.
A no.
Because I was going to say, isn't Kris Jenner technically meet these requirements? Right? Didn't she raise a bunch of kids who were money bags
too? Kris Jenner has some point gotten the Glamour Woman of the Year or will get the Glamour Woman of the Year. But
I want the Gossy.
The Gossy.
Yeah, that's what I want.
Really are the one. But these things are created. These are little events, do they mean anything at the end of the day? No. And it's like people's sexiest man alive. I went to Jonathan Bailey this year from Wicked. It's like it's right.
Any relation?
Yeah. Yes. It's my brother. But he got Sexiest Man alive, but it was right when Wicked for Good is coming out. It's all PR, It's not like people sitting around going, we must find the sexiest man alive out there. It's also depending on what movies are coming out, what TV shows are coming out. It's all PR. So all of these things factor in. And Donna Kelsey, this is why I think she is a great casting. Because, she does have these two sons, but there is this relationship with Taylor where I think a lot of the audience is like, is somebody going to ask her about Taylor? Oh, if she gets kicked off, is Swifty's going to go after those people? What is going to happen?
That's so true and brilliant. And yes, like you said about how the celebrity trickles down, if that's what's going to happen, she's going to end up having her own Swifty army in a sense.
Oh, 100%. I mean, she could turn the Swifties against anybody at this point if she wanted to. She doesn't strike me as that kind of lady to do that at all. No. And, so I think we're safe there, but it's a great power that Taylor wields. And I think it affects everybody in her surroundings.
I feel like she's going to be this person in the castle where everyone's just going to want to go to her for advice and stuff. I just feel like she's going to be like the mom of the castle. She's not, I can't even think of her in terms of like gameplay or winning or any of that. I feel like she's going to have like this very different separate role where people are looking for the mother figure. And
there was also
that's my Lisa Vanderpump impression.
There was mother figure.
Your mother figure.
Nicolane needs to be on the Traitors at some point. What I was going to say was that, remember, there was a rumor that was put out, about a month ago, that Dorinda and Mama Kelsey got into it because Mama Kelsey called Dorinda out on her drinking. Do you remember seeing this?
No, I don't remember seeing this. Oh, interesting. Yeah. Okay.
I don't think it's true at all, but this was put out there and I was like, oh, this is so funny. But remember, we live in a day and age where you can literally put anything out there, and on these shows, you can't prove if it's true or not until the show airs.
By the way, side note, Facebook pages are the weirdest thing lately. They're creating EI images of like Lala and a husband and their 2 children. And it's very weird to me. I'm like,
no, there's so many, like, it'll be like the Vanderpump Rules homepage. And it's like just AI slop articles that have no the sad thing is, then you get into the comments and it's like all these poor people, but like these people that are like, oh my God, so crazy. And I'm like, guys,
yeah, it is.
This is not true. Believe? And I'll always be like, oh, this isn't true. I'll always type it. And I'm like, I even feel dumb typing this, but it just shows you how bad social media is that they let these accounts even stay up. But there's so many of these, right?
Nuts. Yeah. Okay, let's get into our next gamer. This is Ian Terry. He's the winner of Big Brother 14 in 2012, and he competed in Big Brother All-Stars in 2020. So here's some info on like his game. Or do you know this guy? Have you heard of him before?
Yeah, I've heard of him before, but I wasn't a Big Brother viewer. But I'm aware, it's like, and this is why the Traitors is interesting, because then you start paying attention. You're like, oh, I have a huge blind spot for Big Brother. And last year we had Brittany Haynes, we had Daniela Reyes, and we had all of these that turned out to be like really interesting players. And the Big Brother fandom was like, oh, yeah, you got to wait till this person starts cooking, wait till this. So it's really exciting to see other fandoms get excited about these players that nothing about. So Ian's one of these players, when you win Big Brother, that's a lot.
Yeah. So what we found out about him is on day 1, when he was on Big Brother, 4 coaches entered into the game to coach the house guests. Ian was placed on Mike Boogie's team. And then on day 48, he won his first HOH competition. After that initial victory, he went on to win the rest of his eligible HOH competitions. I need to watch this show because I need to learn about these competitions.
Is head of household, you guys.
Head of household. Okay. Yeah. So with these wins on finale night, he tied the record of the most HOHs in a season, which was 4. On September 19th, 2012, he ended up winning Big Brother 14 and the $500,000 prize. $500 would not really be worth it after defeating Dan Giesling, who we also know from the Traitors. Do we not? Was he not on last season? Okay.
It was 2 seasons ago. He was on the
2 seasons ago.
Yeah.
That's right.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was a traitor.
So he also holds the record for most consecutive HOH wins at 4. But he has an interesting sort of backstory where at 21 years, when he was 21 years old, him and his wife, what? Even reading it, it doesn't really make sense. Oh, when he was 21 years old, Terry became the youngest winner of American Big Brother. That's right. So not only did he win, but he was the youngest winner at being only 21 years old.
So he was 21 in 2012?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, so I guess he's a young guy. He came back to the Big Brother house in 2020 for season 22, Big Brother All-Stars. He was evicted on day 44 with a 5-3 vote, finishing in 11th place. And on episode 3 of Big Brother 22 All-Stars, this is really interesting. He disclosed to a group of house guests that he was on the autism spectrum. But during the live feeds, people saw that like the fellow house guests, Memphis Garrett, Nicole Franzel, and Danny Briones and Christmas Abbott were seen privately mocking like some of his quirks related to his autism diagnosis. Specifically, he was like rocking back and forth during conversations and they were mocking this. This obviously caused an uproar from Big Brother fans and the community on Twitter because of this behavior. So Yeah, people went crazy over this. Do you remember when this happened? Is this
I
sort of like
don't.
in your
But
wheelhouse, your
there
zeitgeist?
does seem to be something or multiple things that happen each Big Brother season that lights the fandom on fire in regards to the live feeds or somebody mocking someone or somebody being really aggressive or angry. And, it's like par for course in Big Brother. It's not acceptable, but it seems like it happens every season because you are allegedly on film 24 hours a day.
But he explained to them that he's on the spectrum, right? I mean, that's disgusting. And that's in
It is
this is in
disgusting.
2020.
People are
You guys.
disgusting. Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, this guy's also really good at backgammon, apparently. He won part of a team representing the US in 2021 that was in Germany. He currently lives in Texas. He's a physics teacher. And, he's made a lot of appearances on the Rob Has a podcast. So I think if we can take a little bit from this backgammon thing, I think that's gameplay.
I've never played backgammon in my life. I've
Me
never played it in my life. My parents had a backgammon set. I never once even asked how to play it. And that just shows and by the way, I've never played chess in my life either.
Me neither.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like
There
a
you go.
real dumb.
So I guess that reference that we keep hearing, the Bobby Fischer reference, it means nothing to either of us.
I know who Bobby Fischer is. Obviously, this good chess champion. I'm aware of chess in the game. I just always sometimes think, I'm like, well, I'm not going to ever be smart enough to play that. So why even bother learning, So,
Exactly.
yeah, I'll stick to reality TV. So he's really interesting. The gamers, like what I feel like he has a gigantic target on his back. I feel like I said, the gamers coming into the Traitors Castle, they're the ones, unfortunately. And it sucks because I want to see them, I think, the most, just because I want to see how good they really are.
But then no, you're right. I was going to say, is everyone else going to, I mean, there are just so many gamers this season. It's going to be hard for everyone to constantly try to get rid of them all,
Yeah.
In all fairness. Kristen Kish is an interesting one. So I don't watch Top Chef. Are you a Top Chef watcher? Because this is what she's best known for.
Yeah, no, yeah. 10th season of Top Chef, she won. And she's amazing. She's now the host of Top Chef after Padma Lakshmi stepped away. But actually, Padma, I believe, is working on a new cooking show, I think for CBS. I talked about it the other day. But yeah, Kristen Kish is filling in the Padma role as one of the hosts. She was born in Seoul, South Korea, and adopted by a family in Kentwood, Michigan at the age of 4 months. She worked as a model while attending East Kentwood High School, and she graduated in 2002. She briefly studied international business and economics at Grand Valley State University for a year before attending Le Cordon Bleu in Chicago, earning a AA in culinary arts. I mean, the Le Cordon Bleu is famous. In 2012,
I've heard of that.
I mean, yeah, even she initially had no interest in appearing on television, but he eventually agreed at Barbara Lynch's insistence. She was invited to participate in the qualifying rounds and was tasked with creating a signature soup for Judge Emeril Lagasse. And Kish passed the challenge and moved on to the competition proper. And from there, Kish won 4 elimination challenges before being eliminated for the Restaurant Wars Challenge, which was episode 11 of that season of Top Chef. That's always one of the best episodes of Top Chef every season is Restaurant Wars. She was able to win her way back into the main competition with 5 consecutive victories in Last Chance Kitchen, and that was very thrilling that season, and she made it to the finale with Brooke Williamson. Kish defeated Williamson and was crowned the top chef, becoming the second female winner in the series. She has since received 2 Primetime Emmy Award nominations for Outstanding Host for a reality competition program. In 2017, she released her first cookbook called Kristen Kish Cooking, Recipes and Techniques. In 2004, Kish publicly came out after announcing the first anniversary of the relationship with her girlfriend at the time, Jacqueline Westbrook, over Instagram. And then in 2019, Kish announced her engagement to Bianca Dusick in an Instagram post, and they married in 2021. Now, were you aware of any of this?
I know who she. Okay, the only reason I even know anything about her is because she was a guest judge on Top Chef Canada. Because I've been seeing her in commercials for that. So no, in doing all of this digging, I didn't know any of this about her. She's super interesting, and she's also hosting like this 36 hours show. It's this 6 episode series on the Travel Channel where she travels around and like, they present their favorite fast food items and stuff. This is really cool. Now, I don't think we've ever had someone from this show or this type of reality show on the Traitors. And what do you think that she can bring with this skill set?
I don't know what she can bring with the skill set. I mean, like, I don't think there's any cooking challenges in the Traitors, but
there's speed involved. I mean,
there's
speed.
speed, yeah. I mean, there's some speed, but I don't know. Like, I mean, that's what she's a question mark for me personally, and it'll be great to see her personality come out. I don't foresee her being somebody that would ever be picked to be a traitor, so maybe that's why she would be a traitor. I don't know. She's very talented. She's very camera ready. I don't. It'll be.
What's her personality like? Is she quiet, or does she have like a large personality?
She's fun. She doesn't have a large personality. I think she's very well respected. I think she's lighthearted. But I don't. I don't find her. It would be weird to find her getting into any kind of blow up. And so I'm curious if she will be annoyed by certain people, if she will be cutting, how that will be approached. So, I mean, to me, she's a big question mark. In 2025, she also published her memoir, Accidentally on Purpose, and became a New York Times bestseller. So she's an author.
That's a hard thing to get, you guys. It's really hard to get on the New York Times bestseller list.
Lala almost got there.
She did not buy enough of those tagged books. Okay, so I mean, I'm curious because what could end up happening is, I mean, we want to see how she does. And maybe depending on how she does, they may end up casting more people from that kind of show. Because like I said, we've never had anyone from that kind of show. But if she ends up being really good, maybe they'll cast more people from it. Other contestants from Top Chef.
Yeah, I mean, but it's another one of those avenues that it opens up. You're like,
for sure.
I would love to see Tom Colicchio, who's also on Top Chef. I mean, if you're then going to the Food Network, I'd love to see Alton Brown. There's a lot of great people that you could choose from. I mean, they mentioned Emeril Lagasse in this. Like, there are so many chefs with like actually big personalities. I don't consider Kristen Kish one of those people that has a huge personality. I don't think that counts against her. It's just I never considered her. I mean, I think she's amazing. Obviously, she's insanely talented, but it's different between her and an Emeril Lagasse. Lagasse is huge,
Yeah, it's an interesting choice. I'm very curious to see it all happen there. Okay, and then we get into some sort of like our conventional sports enthusiasts. We've got Tara Lipinski, okay? Now, that name to me just sort of reminds me of like the 90s or like my childhood. I sort of remember being a kid where my mom would be like, "Do you guys want to take skating lessons?" And I'm like, "Okay." And then I do it and I hate it, but she's paid for it. So the only reason my sister and I ended up getting through our season of skating lessons was we wanted to dress like the Olympians. So my grandmother made us these outfits that were like with the spandex, right? I'd have like a full outfit with the skirt, the spandex leggings, the colorful sweater, the figure skating skates that had the cover on it with like the sparkles. And I looked just like Tara Lipinski, but going to like an 8-year-old's like skating class with like 3 other kids, right? But yeah, I have a lot of the nostalgia, I guess, when it comes to figure skating. I guess the Olympics or maybe all of this was happening during a specific period of time for me. But like, do you remember her? Do you remember Johnny Weir?
Yeah,
was this like a part of your childhood? We're around the same age, I feel like.
I remember her, but I didn't have the same emotional attraction to it, obviously I will pay attention and I'm aware that, and I was lucky enough, who did I have on the show last year? Adam Rippon, who I loved, and he's in podcasting now. So there are these really, they're amazing people, and some of these are amazing personalities, but I don't geek out on it as much as some other, like other people do.
Yeah.
But it's like you can't like geek out about everything, but like I love that she's there. Also, I think you have to pay attention to the fact that we're about to hit the Winter Olympics. So this is a great
Ooh.
crossover because Peacock, NBC Universal, they're doing major coverage. Johnny Weir is part of their coverage. So I think this is another reminder of, hey guys, we also have the Olympics. Pay attention.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like you said, all of these other extensions of ways for these people to stay in the limelight. I mean, Tara Lipinski, she won the 1997 World Championship, and today is what, 2026, and we're still talking about her. So I think that's really interesting to be able to like literally pivot so far beyond what you were doing, and we'll get into that. So she won the 1997 World Championship, a two-time Champion Series final in 1997 to 1998. Until 2019, she was the youngest single skater to win the U.S. Nationals and the youngest to become an Olympic and world champion in figure skating history. She is the first woman to complete a triple loop combination, her signature jump element in competition. You remember that?
No, I've done it.
You look like you were making the space.
Those are easy. Who hasn't done one of those? God.
I'm triple looping right now, Ryan.
Yeah, I triple looped earlier. Yeah.
Exactly. So in March 1998, she actually made the decision to withdraw from the 1998 World Championships, citing a serious glandular infection that required her to have 2 molars extracted. She was constantly fatigued. She had possible manuculosis. Like, this was bad. Then the next month, she was like, actually, I want to become professional, which apparently makes her ineligible to participate in the Olympics. And people were kind of mad about it. Like, her family's position was like, let's focus on college. Let's do that. There was also kind of a separation going on with her family because wherever she was skating, that's where she was living with her mom. And then her dad was living wherever they used to live. And financially, they just couldn't all be together. So they all just kind of wanted to be together. But yeah, she took a lot of heat for it. I don't get it, but maybe that's just because I'm not from the skating community.
Yeah, no, I mean, but it is interesting. What I love about it is that, like the reality show fandom or any fandom, there's all of these like, ooh, look at the craziness happening, or like the family dynamics and stuff. And so you realize the same patterns with fandoms and what we're interested in and what is dramatic. And, so it's like very familiar no matter what fandom you land on. And you're like, oh yeah, of course, there's like drama that's superseding their actual talent.
No, that's so true. And we'll hear definitely more of that when we talk about Johnny Weir. But, she's published 2 books, Totally Tara and Tara Lipinski, Triumph on Ice. She's had many endorsements and book deals. Now, she had this rivalry with Michelle Kwan that I really tried to look into. And I'm like, wait, what's the other one I'm thinking of? The more famous one.
Well,
the one where
Nancy Kerrigan. And,
thank you.
Yeah.
So I was like, is it like that? And I couldn't really find anything except for the fact that it really seemed to me that the rivalry was more like the judges and the fans, because it seemed like I couldn't really find anything about the two going at each other except for judges and fans saying her this is better than this and her this is better than this and she should win because she's so much better. So I'm sure that got to each of their heads, but I couldn't really find anything about them trying to trip each other or anything like that.
Yeah, no, I don't think it was like violent or something. But if you watch the Simone Biles docuseries on Netflix,
I did not.
You do realize how competitive even within their own teams and the fandom and stuff. I was shocked though that her net worth was estimated at $12 million in 1998. It's a lot of money. This is big
especially back
money.
then.
Yeah, because you're like, how does a career work for an Olympian? But $12 million, that's a lot of money.
So my recollection, because I remember someone being asked this or this being in a movie or something, and they get a lot of cereal deals and brand deals, that kind of stuff way back then. Now it's all about the brand deals for sure, right? So you're probably making a lot of money, but back then to do endorsements and book deals and to be at 12 million, that's huge, right? So I guess she was she was an it girl in a sense in the sports community. She was the it girl that year.
Yeah, no, it's very interesting. And I'm curious because I don't know her personality at all. I don't follow the Olympics or, figure skaters enough to know, is she known for aggressive behavior? Is she known
Yeah.
like, she looks so sweet and innocent, which is, that can sometimes be completely deceiving. And, if you're only judging by looks, I mean, so, and an Olympian, you kind of consider like, oh, that's so American and wholesome and like, oh, USA. And there's like this kind of nationalism to it. So I don't really know what to expect from her at all.
No, I have absolutely no idea either. And like she kind of then ended up merging into hosting and sort of doing that with Johnny Weir, where they're being not hosting, but like being commentators for the
Yeah.
Olympics. They continued doing that for a while. And so it's kind of interesting because we're going to obviously be talking about Johnny Weir, but to be having like besties almost in a sense,
It's almost like
together.
It's like housewives that work together. So if they have this really strong relationship, which they seem to have,
he was in her wedding. He was her best man.
I mean, her and John. I mean, that's a very. So if it came
Yeah.
down to it, these people are going to either stab each other in the back or they're going to bond together. And if I was in there and I didn't know any of this information, I wouldn't be the wiser. So are they going to come in talking about their relationship? Are they deciding to stay away from each other in terms of gameplay? That's going to be a really interesting thing to look for.
I think they're going to initially try to band together because you can't. I mean, it's too public that they're friends. You know what I mean? For them to stay away from each other, it would look too obvious that they're trying to do that on purpose, don't you think?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm just curious. Yeah, it would totally be weird, but you don't know what they're, but you said they're Olympic correspondents. So, I mean, I think that they're both going to be Olympic correspondents this year, obviously.
And they also did like some fashion correspondent stuff too for Access Hollywood on the red carpet for the 86th Academy Awards. So that's kind of interesting. She also did like social media stuff, fashion and lifestyle for NBC Sports, including the Beverly Hills Dog Show with Weir in 2017, right? The National Dog Show since 2015. So yeah, they have been working together on all of these little projects.
But it's
now,
like the circuit that you have to go on once
the circuit.
Once the Olympics, once you're not competing anymore in the Olympics, I find that really interesting because that's another like probably tight-knit community of you want to be, you want to be now hosting things. Like there's only so many hosting jobs to go around, right?
Right. But that is something that it seems that a lot of people on reality TV do want to sort of merge towards. I find that a lot of people who are on Survivor and those kinds of shows then want to look into these hosting gigs. I mean, if she's good at it, I don't know, but I want to mention this because it could give us a sense of who Tara and Johnny are together. So the Washington Post said that they considered them Olympic darlings, a one-stop shop for knowledge, sass, and brass, but then others actually found them to be mean, obnoxious, and distracting. So I think we should keep that in mind.
Like people that have a podcast. You're either going to think one way or you're going to think the other.
Fair enough. I hope they're not mean. Like, I hope they don't do this little like catty thing where they're just like together and just trying to be mean about other people, because I just don't think that's going to like fare well. But I just think it's interesting to see these people come back to our screens so many years later. I just think it's kind of fascinating.
Well, we already have Michael Rappaport, so there's only so much mean behavior that you can have on one show. So we'll see.
Do you want to do him next? We'll skip. Yeah, let's just go to him super quick because we're just talking about him. So, I mean, I know him from Friends. He was Phoebe's boyfriend. That's how I know Michael Rappaport. So he was in that, True Romance, Atypical, Prison Break, My Name is Earl. Now, fun fact, he was actually...
He played a neo-Nazi in Higher Learning.
The
John Singleton movie that was one of his breakout roles when his career
was
first
one
starting.
of his breakout roles. Okay.
Yeah, he was also in Woody Allen movies. I mean, like he was a very well-respected actor when he started off. That's how I knew him. Eventually he did Friends as well. But, he was, you didn't know what a loudmouth Michael Rappaport was back in the day because he was just an actor when he first started.
That's such a great point, because again, it's playing a character, because I did like him, right? This is only recently where I've come not to, but I've always liked him.
When he started off, I thought he was an insanely talented actor. I thought this guy was really when his career first started, when he was very young. So I really had no clue that he was playing characters that were like kind of how he was. And, now Michael Rappaport is not even really, I don't really think people consider him an actor. I think people consider him a personality now.
I actually asked a few people, and I think people consider him a stand-up comic. I think he may be known as a stand-up comic.
Oh.
But even still, like, I mean, I think he's mostly known now as like this loudmouth internet personality who has a lot to say. And it's unfortunate when you see an actor, because it's what's that thing that they say? Can you separate the art from the artist? And it's like,
Yeah.
not always. Not always.
Yeah, I mean,
Well, what were we gonna say?
no, I mean, Michael Rappaport is one of those confounding guys. And like, I used to listen to the Howard Stern show a lot of the times, and he was a guest on there a lot, a caller, but he would like just get into it obnoxiously with his staff. And sometimes it would be funny and sometimes it would be annoying. And he's one of those guys that like sucks all of the oxygen out of the room.
Yes.
And, obviously Andy Cohen likes him a lot. He's a frequent guest on Watch What Happens Live. He professes to love the Housewives so much that he knows everything about the Housewives. I rarely agree with his Housewives takes, but I appreciate, like everybody can have a take. It's just that he will shout you down. And it's a straight white dude, which I am. So I could be obnoxious just like him. But sometimes if I would ever be in a conversation with it, and I know people like him, I just get more quiet. It's like, just do whatever you want to do. He comes off as a bully. He comes off, a funny bully at times, but a bully nonetheless. And I think, the further you would get away from his actual, like, this dude was in some really great movies, some really great TV shows. He's very highly political now, has opinions on everything, has gone negative Trump, pro-Trump. He, like, any way the wind blows, it feels like, very strong political opinions. And sometimes with Michael, you just have this overwhelming urge to tell him to shut up. I don't know, but there's some really interesting stuff, though, in his background, though.
Yeah, for sure.
That I forgot.
Yeah, so let me talk a little bit about that. So he was actually expelled from high school in the 80s, but then ended up graduating from like a different high school. In 1989, he moved to LA when he was 19 to become a stand-up comic. And his stepfather, who was another comic, Mark Lano, who owned the Improv, helped him get into the stand-up world. So nepotism. On May 18th, 1997, Rappaport was arrested for harassing his ex-girlfriend, Lily Taylor. And he was
Taylor,
charged with
also an amazing actress. And I don't know what happened to Lily Taylor, but Lily Taylor.
I don't know who that is. Who is that?
Oh my God.
Name
Great.
something.
I don't know. Movies Say Anything with John Cusack. He was one of John Cusack's best girlfriends. And
I'm going to have to just Google her.
So many things. And you would know her if you saw a picture, but I haven't seen her in anything in like a decade plus. So I don't know what happened to her.
Well, that's sad. Well, he was charged with 2 counts of aggravated harassment. He did end up pleading guilty, so, we don't have to say allegedly. There was a protection order issued to keep him away from her, to keep him from contacting her, as well as mandating that he undergo counseling sessions.
So he ended up getting a harassment charge. Wasn't that Colton Underwood where we started?
Right. In good company, of course. In 2000, he married the writer and producer Nicole Beatty. They have 2 sons. They divorced in 2007, and then he met in 2016 his longtime girlfriend, actress Kibi Dunn, who I believe he has a podcast with. I was trying to figure out, he has many podcasts, I think, and I'm a little bit confused. I think he has also like a podcast. I don't want to call it an empire, maybe a conglomerate is maybe a better word, but I think he has a few different podcasts within like an I Am Rappaport umbrella or something.
Regularly though, like, or is it one of those?
No,
like, here and there, and then I'll start a new one, and then
yes. Okay. That's why it's hard to tell when things in podcasting sometimes whether they're current or not, because some people don't post daily like us, right? Like sometimes it's once every 6 months and it's a current podcast, but it was a little bit hard to tell. So yeah, he doesn't have a great backstory when it comes to women. Now, I know you were talking about his relationship with the Housewives and how much he loves the Housewives, but he's had some contentious issues with them too. So in 2016, he took to Twitter calling Kenya Moore crazy, and he implied that she deserved that wig snatch from fellow housewife Portia Williams during the season 6 Real Housewives of Atlanta reunion. And we'll get into that when we talk about Portia. But these two ended up being booked together on Watch What Happens Live. Kenya called him a middle-aged fat white guy.
You might have seen this clip. It is so funny, you guys, because Michael Rappaport's doing his thing of like, no, Kenya, you don't understand. I love, and it got into it, and she, he was like, oh, you want to be me, Kenya. And Kenya was like, what, a middle-aged fat white guy? And
exactly.
It was so fun. It was such a great read.
So then, you know how they have that Watch What Happens Live after show, which is so funny that
Yeah.
they have to split it into two things. There, he was like, "Oh, I didn't want to say it on live TV, but her feet are ashy as fuck." Now, people did not like that. They said that that was racist. And then there was this screenshot that
By the way,
appeared
Michael
on.
Rappaport, if I'm not mistaken, he's married to a black woman.
Yeah, yeah, which does add an element of confusion. There was this picture that surfaced on his Instagram. It was a side by side picture of Kenya and an ape. And it was Kenya screaming. So her mouth wide open, like you're doing now, and then like an ape wide open. And people were like, I think that was the moment he became like the villain of the internet. He's only made it worse since, but I don't love that, Michael. Like,
But
I think that's when I started kind of pulling back.
He's a rage baiter, it's like I can't tell if it's like performance art rage baiting because he loves to get into it with you, but at the same time, like he even directed a documentary about the rap group A Tribe Called Quest that I loved. He did it a long time ago. It's a
2008
documentary that I was like shocked. I was like, that's Michael Rappaport, but he did that documentary. Like I thought it was great. And so you're like trying to like the actual work he's done or the acting he's done mixed with his personality. You're trying to, because it's just even on the Traitors, he already comes in very hot this season, and it can. But at the same time, if you're thinking about casting, is that part of the overall agenda of like have somebody that the audience will hate, and then maybe they'll grow to love him, but they'll hate. It's like it's not in terms of like vocal, but like Sandoval last season.
I think this might be a different level. Like, I could be wrong, but I feel like the fandom feels like this was like not okay for him to be cast. I think it was like that level, not like we hate him, he shouldn't be on the show. I feel like the people felt like this is not appropriate in that sense.
Well, and he's obviously, and this is not the podcast where we're going to get into that, but it's, is very pro-Israeli and the Israel-Palestine of it all. And he really, you either loved him for that or you absolutely hated him from that on top of already hating him already. But he's just one of those people that will shout you down. And I don't sometimes, that to me is the negative side of Housewives fandom. So I'm not like in love with his Housewives, but I just don't even like his Housewives takes in the first place. Just from a logistical standpoint, like his favorite Housewives are like Erica Jane and Lisa Rinna. Like give me a flipping break. So
he must be so excited to be with her
he must be
in the castle.
Creaming his jeans to be in that castle. Like, oh yeah. This is also
wait. There's one other thing I want to mention though about his personality because I think this really does add to it. Because so he actually worked for Barstool Sports back in 2017, and he was supposed to be a correspondent for this podcast called Pardon My Take.
Which is a huge
then on
podcast.
February 18th, sorry,
it's a huge.
Is it a good podcast?
Yeah. Huge.
So on February 18th, 2018, he ended up being fired from Barstool Sports for making rude comments towards their fan base. The feud ended up escalating to the point where Michael accused David Portnoy, who owns Barstool Sports, who we all know is a complete douche. He accused him of taking steroids and suggesting that he didn't pay his gambling debts. And then Portnoy responded by calling Rappaport a loser and a fraud and suggesting he didn't pay his gambling debts. This white man feud is absolutely ridiculous. So Michael ends up launching a defamation lawsuit against Barstool Sports, which was dismissed on the grounds that nothing actually happened here. And this was a hyperbolic. And like, this is based on undisclosed facts of just being like, you don't pay your debts. You don't pay your debts. Like, that's not anything. That's not evidence. So they're just like, yeah, we're going to drop this now.
But there was also a T-shirt being sold, I believe, with Michael Rappaport's face with what they said was a herpes sore on his lip, and they were selling it. And Rappaport,
okay, that I didn't know. That I didn't see.
About this. That was part of the Barstool thing as well, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, I did not hear about that, so thank you for adding that context because that really adds. But yeah, regardless, this fight is hilarious, right? To sue over this just sounds like really funny when you're looking at the actual context of this. But again, he's this kind of personality who is like really loud and he doesn't like to be kind of maybe talked down to. So when you're calling him like a loser and someone who doesn't pay their debts, he's taking this as like a personal attack on like his character. And like, it's almost nothing. So I can't even imagine what the castle's going to be like for him. Somebody's going to like look at him funny and he's going to go off.
Yeah,
And
but
that's
I think
great
that's
for
part
us.
of but I think that's part of his agenda too. Like, it's
Yeah.
like I think he loves to get a rise out of people. And like I said, he will always shout you down. But at the same time, he has like amazing agents and PR. Like he's always doing something. Like you said, he was on The Masked Singer as a wild card contestant in 2023.
Have you ever watched the show, by the way? I have not.
Nah, I mean, I watched the Sheeta
Clips.
episode. I've watched clips. Yeah. He's the narrator of WWE 365 on the WWE Network, which makes sense because of wrestling. He's really been like he keeps getting these really huge opportunities, and I would say the Traitors is one of them. Andy Cohen keeps putting on Watch What Happens Live. He was not a he did not get to be a he didn't get to be what I'm blanking, like the fucking the people that host the panels. He didn't get to be a moderator.
Oh, at
he didn't get to be a
BravoCon?
moderator at BravoCon this year.
Did he want that?
But he has been because he's been a moderator the previous years.
Oh yeah, I think it's just not a good time in history for him to be doing that.
One, I think he's just so inflammatory. So it is interesting for somebody this inflammatory to be put on a show. And we'll see how it goes. It seems like people have banded together to really hate this man already. And I think in a lot of ways, rightfully so. So it will be very interesting to see what happens at this point.
I totally agree. But regardless of what happens, Ryan, what does this inflammatory man plan to be doing? What did he announce this week?
Oh, that he is going to be running for the mayor of New York because he does not like Mamdani, and he is run for mayor. So this is great. Michael Rappaport has New York, and Spencer Pratt is running for mayor in Los Angeles. So it's going to be
what a
really
time to be alive.
East Coast, West Coast. We got Spencer and Michael Rappaport. And listen, you never know. I mean, I don't know if we've ever had a reality show president over here, but you never know. You never know, unfortunately. So big things from Michael Rappaport.
All right, let's go back to where we were. And we were going to get into Dorinda Medley. And I'm actually really excited for this because she was on last season, but was only on, she got cut, the first episode?
She was the
so I'm glad we get her back.
Cut. And she didn't she was so pissed because she didn't get to wear any of her outfits. She had gotten all of these new outfits. She was very proud of her outfits, and she was just so upset. I mean, she really took this personally. Dorinda takes things very personally, it feels like.
Say it, regret it. No, wait. Say it.
Write it,
do
regret it. Yeah. What is it? Write it, regret it. What is it?
I actually always forget this because it's actually really difficult to remember. Say it, regret it. No, write it. Say it, forget it, write it, regret it.
Write it, regret it. Yeah. Say it, forget it.
Well, anyway, she's best known for being a cast member on Roni from 2015 to 2020. That's The Real Housewives of New York. She's not an OG, but she has OG vibes. Don't you feel like she was it's almost like she was always there.
You think of Roni, you think of Dorinda.
You think of Dorinda, for sure.
Same thing with Sonia. Sonia was an OG. Dorinda was an OG. So I think that's, they really cemented themselves.
Yeah. I'm actually doing a rewatch right now, so it's been really fun. And I'm in my Dorinda Sonia era, just really enjoying. She was born in Massachusetts in 1964 and graduated from Berkshire High School in 1983. That is the year of my birth. While working in New York, she met her first husband, Ralph Lynch. They had one daughter together named Hannah, who we do see on the show, but we do not meet her ex-husband. Then she met and married Richard Medley, who was a hedge fund advisor, and in 2005. And then he ended up dying in 2011 at the age of 60. Now, anyone who knows Dorinda knows her relationship with Richard. Sorry?
And now what are you going to say? Balloon. Now he's a red balloon.
Yes, the red balloon. Her relationship with Richard is very important to her. She talks about it a lot. And I forget what show I was watching. It was one of the Real Housewives Ultimate Girls trips where they go to Bluestone Manor, which is, this place that she lives, and she hosts many events at, and she's had many of the ladies over from Roni for it. But when she did Real Housewives Ultimate Girls trip and had the ladies there, she's talking about Richard. I don't know if you remember this moment. She's going on and on about it. And then they pan to Phaedra, who's like, who the fuck is Richard? Because you really have to know Dorinda from the beginning.
Yeah.
But who doesn't know Dorinda without knowing who Richard is? You know what I mean? That's such an important part.
Truly.
He was the love of her life, obviously. But then she went on to date entrepreneur John Medesian for 7 years. They separated in September 2019.
And you guys remember John from Roni, it was always like, what are you doing here without Dorinda? The iconic line from Sonia and Bethany kind of inferring that the guy's like a cokehead, and he runs He runs that big dry cleaning operation in New York. But he was a character. But also I thought it very interesting because he seemed very different than how she would describe Richard, which,
Exactly.
psychologically I would be like, that would make sense of somebody, if you're that, if you lose somebody, the love of your life, and in the way that Richard passed away, that you might go for somebody completely different, masking your pain.
Totally. I was also, just because I'm rewatching it now, I was also thinking about the fact that John knew Richard, and maybe there was that aspect of familiarity because she said that John loved Richard and Richard loved John. And I wonder if that made her feel like maybe more at peace to date John because she felt like that was someone that Richard might approve of. Maybe I'm delving too deep. Maybe this is too psychological for a Traitors, cover, but it's just something I was thinking because I'm just currently watching her relationships right now on Roni.
No, I mean, John Medizian was a trip, dude. And I used to, like, John was that quirky character that I love on Housewives, that he's just like, how the fuck did this, how are they together? And like, they just seem like that couple that it was like Shannon Bedore and John Jansen, where I'm like, oh, this is like a professional drinking couple. Like they really tie one on when they're together,
Yeah, yeah. Well, we know that she currently hosts the Reality Check podcast with Kiki Monique, good friend of ours. And then she owns this Bluestone Manor that we talked about, right? This was a legacy gift from her late husband. You can actually rent a room at the Bluestone Manor. And I think some of our friends have gone over there for an event that she had a couple years back. Yeah. Bravo and Blaze went over there. Do you remember what that was? The Page Six guys were there.
Well, was it because she has a Bluestone whiskey, I believe. I don't know if it was an event for
maybe it was a tasting for that, but they got to go to Bluestone Manor and tour the manor, the fish room, which is iconic.
Yeah, that's,
iconic.
Well, I remember when Danny Pellegrino launched one of his books, I don't know, the first or second book, he got to stay overnight at Bluestone Manor. I'm just like, that is just one of those experiences you want to collect in life where you're like, oh my God, that would be it would be so crazy, but also so scary because it'd be like, when's Dorinda going to wake me up? And especially when you saw an Ultimate Girls Trip, when she had those ladies over and she was like, do not eat in the bedrooms. And she's very picky about everything. Mm-hmm. And if you follow Dorinda on social media, she's always taking so many photographs at Bluestone Manor. I mean, she's she's fascinating.
Do you want to hear what her website describes Bluestone Manor as?
Yeah.
Like if you were to rent a room there. Okay, so this is what it says. We already know the stories from the house. As the backdrop to some of the Real Housewives of New York's most memorable episodes, Dorinda Medley's home in the Berkshires of Western Massachusetts, Bluestone Manor, is famously where Luann fumbled an oil branch to Carol. Carol went head-to-head with Bethany in costume. This is on the website. And Bethany called Luann, among other things, a liar, a hypocrite, and a snake. Tears have been shed, friendships broken, and fires started. Even Ramona's dog Coco has lost her cool. All this despite the valiant efforts of their host, who, lest we forget, cooked, decorated, and made it nice. Few amongst us, Roni superfans, however, know the story of the house. The show is so focused on the girls, it doesn't even show the architecture.
Oh my God, this is all on the website? What, is this like the opening statement on the website?
This is what you can get about, this is how she describes it on her personal website about like how you can rent the room.
Okay, got it.
So she says the show focused so much on the girls, it doesn't even show the architecture. Speaking via Zoom from the Berkshires, where she's been sheltering in place with her daughter Hannah and family friend Greg Calijo. People always come and say, wow, your house looks so different in person. Built in 1902, the 11,000 square foot two-door style residence harks back to the Gilded Age. Ooh, I think Stassi would love it. When titans of industry commissioned the likes of Peabody and Stern, Roch and Tilden and McKinn, Mead and White to design sprawling summer cottages in the mountains of Western Massachusetts. I don't understand the sentence I just said. Bluestone Manor captures the same spirit in the form of intricate ironwork, elaborate mantelpieces, and a generously proportioned 7-bedroom layout, which is anchored by side-to-side entry and stair halls. Real Housewives of New York star Dorinda Medley collaborated with designer and friend Marshall Watson on the recent restoration and decoration of the Berkshire residence Bluestone Manor. In the entry hall, torches in the form of Vestal virgins flank a pair of French doors dressed in gold threaded curtains. The walls were hand stenciled by Judy Mulligan, says Watson.
Ooh, she's good.
The room gives an immediate feel of an English baronial house.
I would pay to have that description end. Like, my God, I just kept going. Well, I guess I would ask you, how much does it cost to rent a room?
You didn't look at that. I'm sorry. I bet it's a lot. I bet it's a
but
lot.
that's like that's what I want to know is how much it costs. Because
Well,
like, is
I
it
think she's trying to
doable?
rope
Is
you
it
in
like
this way
is
first,
it
right?
like
It's like,
75
how
a
can you
night?
say
What?
no?
Well, I mean, but like I want to be able to say no. Like, how much is it? Like an ungodly fee?
Okay, let's look it up. Bluestone Manor.
And is it one of
Because I
those
feel,
like
what do you think is
Airbnb where
reasonable?
you punch in a code and you get like there's like a lockbox and you know have to put out the. I mean, I don't know what even consider. I mean, it's Dorinda, so I don't know if it's like $1,000 a night, if it's 500 a night, if it's less. I mean, like what is it?
I'm getting it.
Okay.
100 per night. Oh, that's not bad at
What?
all. Oh, that's a special. Oh, she lists on Airbnb for a special limited $100 per night. This was in August 2001. So that was for charity. Okay, that was like
Wait,
a special.
2001? No, there's no way 2001.
Why does it
2021?
say that? Sorry, this was an AI overview that I read. It does say that. Okay. Let me see. It's listing it. Yeah, this is all August 2001. This is in People as well. That she was
$100
listing
a
her
night. I'll
Berkshire's
just live
mansion on
there for the rest of
Airbnb.
my life. Okay. Well, I think it was okay. So it's, anyways, guys, if you guys know further information about this or you want to, get together and rent this, I mean, it seems like maybe there's a possibility. So I do wonder how often Dorinda is there because I think she sold her apartment in the city that we had seen on the Housewives show. But like, my God, she also
I
wrote
bet
a
she's
book
always there.
Yeah, I would hope so. I mean, it's a beautiful place.
Yeah.
She wrote a book in 2021 called Make It Nice, which I enjoyed. I read that. It's a quick read.
Is it an autobiography?
It's a memoir.
Okay.
A memoir, yeah. Dorinda, this is the thing that haunts Dorinda was she was put on pause because of her disturbing behavior that was potentially alcohol related after season 12. But then Roni never came back. So she's been put on pause. So she's out there in the ether. And this really haunts, like Dorinda brings up the pause all the time. She brings it up to Andy all the time. But I will say, if Dorinda can take a step back, she also gets so many opportunities that none of the other housewives gets. This is her second season, like you said, on the Traitors. She got the radio show on Radio Andy. She
that's
is
huge.
Always at NBC Universal events. I always see her there. So I know she is... She always talks of herself as like, oh, I'm not in the know, or they don't, but she seems like she's used quite a bit. But I will say I was out over the weekend and I did hear something that I think there might be something involving the old Roni ladies, including Dorinda, but I do think, I think there's a possibility that that Luann and Dorinda, we'll see. We'll see. And I don't know if she's participating in the 20th anniversary Ultimate Girls Ultimate Road Trip that they're doing.
Right.
That starts shooting next week. So, she has a lot of things happening. But the put on pause, it's like her getting cut first. She takes these things really personally. And sometimes there seems to be an anger attached to it, or that's the vibe I get sometimes.
Yeah, for sure. But she has said that looking back, she wishes she had taken that season off. So I wonder if it would change anything. But it's just weird because at the end of the day, she does have a good relationship with Bravo still, but there is no show to put her on, right? They'll put her on every Ultimate Housewives they want, but like there's no Roni to return to. So I feel like if there had been, in a couple of years, they would have brought her back. It just, unfortunately, it doesn't make sense
without
now.
a home. Housewife without a home.
Housewife without a home. The homeless, not toothless.
Yeah,
not
exactly.
toothless. Okay, we should talk about some of our favorite lines of hers, though, right? And
I decorated, I cooked, I made it nice.
I'll tell you how I'm doing. Not well, bitch.
Clip.
Say it, forget it, write it, regret it.
Giovanni!
And yeah, she does maybe have a little bit of an issue with drinking because there was
all of those lines happened while she was drinking. Like all of those. But by the way, she also comes off when she's not like, drinking. She comes off so sweet, so sensitive, so like, she seems wonderful.
She does. There is one thing I want to note about her, and I'm curious if you've ever noticed. I feel like she sees herself, it's not even a negative thing. I think she sees herself in this light as almost like a celebrity in a sense, where when she does interviews, she'll talk about like, so I have like she'll almost talk about those moments or those things in books where she'll be like, and then I said that quote, and then it became a thing, right? And that's my thing. So she kind of talks about it like there are these moments that everybody knows of about her. Like she's this, I don't know how to explain it really. Like, oh, hi, I'm Dorinda. Oh, you know that thing about me? Yes, that's me. That's correct. That's I. I did make that amazing quote. Yes, that is I. I don't know. Do you get what I'm saying?
Well, yes, I get what you're saying, but I think it's because so many people approach her because of those things that I think if you were Dorinda, you would think, oh my God, like I am so known for that thing, you know? And she really is. I think a good portion of people, just like I say, we're so online. There's a good portion of everywhere that don't even know what the housewives still are. You know, it's like, it is synonymous. People know Real Housewives, but when you get into the characters, people still are, I mean, I have so many of my friends that like will be like, I saw what you posted there. I have no idea what the fuck you're talking about, but it seems like you're having a good time. Like, have no clue anything or anybody you're talking about. Like, I mean, and they're like, they go on too long where I'm like, okay, I get it. You don't know any, like, but they're like, seriously, I'm
a loser. I know.
You're speaking a foreign language up there, buddy. Like, so you have to be aware of that. But I would imagine that nobody's going up to Dorinda going, I don't know you. All the people are going up to her that do know her. And that's probably
fair enough.
People.
You're right.
And at BravoCon, I got to tell you, she looked fantastic. 60 years old. She looked amazing. So whatever she's doing, it's working.
100%. I love Dorinda. Very excited for this. Yeah. And maybe she didn't even have to buy new outfits because she could just use the outfits that she didn't have to wear before.
I remember hearing her in an interview, and she was just really pissed that she had bought a whole wardrobe and didn't get to use any of it last season. But what would be really sad is if they get her out really quickly. I would feel really bummed for her. So
if they do that to her again, they'll have to bring her back next year. She gets to wear one outfit a year.
Yeah, exactly. Right? It's 12 seasons.
Perfect.
Okay, who do we have next?
Okay, next we have Tiffany Mitchell. She was on Big Brother 23, and this was in 2021. And she is going to be amazing on the Traitors because her strategy that season was just fucking wild. So her strategy centered around the Cookout Alliance, which aimed to be the first Black alliance in the show's history, which made her like a legend because as a member of this Cookout Alliance, which was a 6-person alliance, they made it their mission to crown the first Black winner in the show's history. So she becomes this legend by masterminding the Cookout's master plan, and the master plan allowed the Cookout to reach the end of the game completely intact, which is a very rare occurrence for a large Big Brother alliance. So here's how the master plan worked. Each member of the Cookout chose a +1 with whom they would share a place on the chopping block as a pawn. This would disguise the Cookout while also ensuring that they had the votes to keep their members safe every week. The Cookout could nominate one of their own while knowing the whole time that they'd actually be voting out their +1. And then the +1s were like completely clueless about being manipulated by the Cookout. So this genius strategy ensured that every member of the Cookout advanced to the final 6 of Big Brother that year, and they achieved their goal of crowning the first Black winner, which was Xavier. So without Tiffany's groundbreaking and quite frankly mind-blowing master plan, the Cookout might have never have stayed hidden or even have stayed together for so long. So because of this, Tiffany went on to win the $50,000 America's Favorite Player prize, which was obviously very well deserved. She had a great influence, which led to her being credited for evicting several other house guests. And she earned the title of America's Favorite House Guest, and she's basically a Big Brother legend, right? So with this Big Brother gameplay, where she's capable of outsmarting contestants, lying and manipulating, she will be such an amazing addition and cast member to the Traitors this season. I really feel like it.
So I mean, this will be great. I mean, it'll be interesting to see somebody that you don't know because it's like, her and Eric Nam are the two that I was like, I have no fucking clue who you guys are. And that's
I have way more than that.
Yeah, but like it was just like I haven't even heard your name, and I always get scared because as you get older, you feel like you're losing your grip on pop culture because there's still, and also you're losing your grip and you just like don't care as much, because you're just so set in like the decade that you fell in love with pop culture and you're just like, who cares? But you're like, Eric Nam, who we'll cover here in a second. I don't know, and then after this, we have Monet Exchange, and that's another like RuPaul's Drag Race. I've watched a handful of episodes. And this show gets Emmy wins. This show gets all sorts of wins. And I mean, I love drag queens. I mean, like, I have no issue with drag queens, and yet I have never been sucked into the RuPaul vortex. And I know how insanely popular this show is. I have nothing against the show, and now there's been so many seasons that I'm like, I think I'm too late.
You're not too late, obviously. But oh gosh, I think maybe I watched one season. I think I did get dragged in one season. I had a friend who was really into it. But I kind of don't remember it, and I kind of couldn't get back into it. But I think because there's so much competition involved, as well as literally masking yourself and then putting on a performance, I think that really speaks to like how dangerous you can literally be in an environment
Bob
like
the drag
this.
queen started off really hot and heavy last season of the Traitors, and I loved him. And he went down swinging. He went too hard in the paint, you know, like he was doing too many big moves. But I really loved him overall, you know. So Monet X Change, I mean, I hate to say it's the Bob the drag queen thing, but you know, most drag queens, you're right, it has so many different, you know, different personality traits that would help you in a game like this. On top of just being there, every drag queen that I've been made aware of is usually wickedly funny. They serve looks. I mean, there's nothing not to like about the ones that they chose. So I'm curious to see what Monet X Change is all about.
Yeah, and I'm assuming huge personality. Like that's just sort of a given. Stage name Monet X Change is the stage name of Kevin Akeem Burton. She is known for competing on the 10th season of RuPaul's Drag Race, which was in 2018, on which she was placed 6th, and she crowned the season's Miss Congeniality, and for winning the 4th season of RuPaul's Drag Race All-Stars. I love that every reality show. They should do Vanderpump Rules All-Stars.
Yeah, I mean, that's not a bad idea. It's not a bad idea. No, think about
Maybe
it.
in a couple of years.
All-Stars,
She returned to compete in the 7th season of RuPaul's Drag Race All-Stars, where she placed runner-up. Now, she is trained as an opera performance person, right? So a lot of these drag queens are sometimes comedians. This person can sing. So I'm really excited to see that.
Yeah.
She has like an original song, Soak It Up from 2018.
Soak It Up, okay.
Yeah. She has an EP, Unapologetically, from 2019. So, and apparently she was the inspiration for Sina Grace's character of Shade in Marvel's first drag queen, like the first Marvel's drag queen superhero.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Cool.
So
I had no
if
idea.
people are using her as like the prototype for that, she must be a really interesting person.
Wow. And then in July of 2023, she appeared on the Dungeons and Dragons themed show Dungeons and Drag Queens. Great
That's
title.
funny.
Which was also the 18th season of the actual play anthology series Dimension 20 on Dropout. So that sentence I have because I don't play Dungeons and Dragons. I'm very aware of it. I didn't even know there was a certain type where it was like drag queens that play Dungeons and Dragons. Like, that's amazing.
We're learning so much.
Yeah. And in September of 2025, Monet X Change announced that she is engaged to her longtime partner, Andy Short. So great. I mean, I'm excited. And it seemed like from what I saw online when the casting was announced that people were excited about Monet X Change. So I'm assuming that she is somebody that people really love from RuPaul's.
I hope we get to hear her sing. I love opera singing. There was a Bachelor. Did you watch The Bachelor way back in what season? Was his name? What's with the guy? He was really rude and he had an accent. Juan Pablo. And he had a woman on his season who has an amazing podcast now with her husband, Charlene, I think is her name. She's an opera singer. And I don't know. It just kind of takes you away. It's very beautiful.
Well, listen, what's her name from Real Housewives of Miami? Really beautiful opera singer as well.
Dog. Oh, that.
Julia.
Right, sorry.
Julia's trying to be an opera singer. So, yeah, we'll see. So I'm excited to see what Monet X Change has. And, you know, I'm wondering if they will do another singing challenge because it really was iconic, Tom Sandoval singing the backwards doll thing. So we'll see how this works out. Now we get to Eric. Is it Nam or Nam? Eric Nam.
I think it's Nam.
Eric Nam. And he's a South Korean singer, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So he's like a pop star.
Raised in Atlanta, Georgia, 37 years old. He deferred an opportunity as a business analyst at, I don't know how to pronounce that.
Deloitte. Oh, that's so funny.
Deloitte.
That's like such
Deloitte.
A common like company.
No, you see words
to do entertainment.
Like, I can't even, but you've heard it so much, and then you're trying to like access that memory really quick.
Yes.
Like, I'm not going to get it fast enough. I'm just not going to say it. Deloitte to pursue a career in entertainment. Now, This is interesting. After a cover that he posted on YouTube gained media attention, the South Korean broadcasting company MBC
Not
invited
NBC.
him. No, M is in Mary, invited Nam to Seoul to compete on the program Star Audition Birth of a Great Star 2. Great title. A show similar to the music competition television series The X Factor. His final placement within the top 5 contestants jump-started his career in South Korea. Now, on September 25th of 2012, he signed with B2M Entertainment as a solo artist. And then since his debut in 2013, he was named GQ Korea's Man of the Year in 2016.
And as we know, that could just be your popularity that year. That doesn't mean you've done anything else special.
Mama Kelsey was also GQ Korea's Man of the Year. And this
there you
2020. Go. Forbes 30 Under 30 Asia in 2017. He was named as one of YouTube's music's global trending artists on the rise in 2019. He has a loyal fan base called Nam Nation. And at the 2018 Winter Olympics in South Korea, he was named an honorary ambassador. He appeared on the primetime Olympic broadcast of American television network NBC, providing an in-depth look at K-pop with interviewers Johnny Weir and Tara Lipinski.
This is all coming full circle because otherwise we're sitting here like, why are we picking this guy? What does this have to do with anything? So he has a connection to 2 of our other cast members. This is interesting.
Yeah, but also I do then wonder, is there another Olympic connection in here as well? Because NBC does have the Olympics this year. So that's interesting. And also, what if there is these 3 against all of them and they've plotted before this show to take out everybody on this show together?
It's brilliant because we don't even know them. We wouldn't even be looking there. I wasn't looking over there.
Exactly. So he did a world tour in 2020 called the Before We Begin World Tour. He visited 34 cities across Asia, North America, and Latin America. And then you guessed it, in March 2020, he had to cancel the final 2 Los Angeles shows and the Latin America leg due to COVID-19 pandemic. In September 8th of 2023, he released his 3rd English album, House on a Hill, which includes a short film based on the album. Now, let's try this out. Let's go to Spotify and type his
let's hear
name
it.
And see. Well, I don't want to play the music because I don't want to get sued, but I want to see how many monthly listeners he has.
Wait, you get sued for that?
You
didn't you used to play the entire Vanderpump Rules theme song at the beginning of your podcast?
Well, I still, anyways. Okay. So Eric Nam, he has on Spotify 617.8 thousand monthly listeners. So 607, okay, but say like an Ariana Grande has 120.9 million monthly listeners. But then let's see, like, what's a famous K-pop act?
Yeah, I don't know any.
B2K. No, B2K is not K-pop. Sorry, what am I?
He also has 2 million followers on TikTok. And I think that's a big portion of it too, because social media has sort of become, where your popularity lies. Isn't that, like, who is Alex Earl in this world, if not a social media person, unless I'm mistaken? But maybe he sort of,
Okay, like Twice. Twice is a K-pop act. They have 20 million monthly listeners. So I was almost half expecting him to have more monthly listeners on Spotify in terms of his music. But this is an interesting casting choice. And from what I've seen, he is he's a very smart kid. I mean, he's a very smart guy. So I'm curious, but I don't know a lot about him. So we will see. He might be one of those undercover people that just blows the game right up. You don't know.
But this will be huge for his career, obviously. I mean, this is a huge opportunity.
Well,
when
in America,
if most of us don't know who you are, you'll blow up in the U.S., right?
But it sounds like he's already huge in Asia. So, yeah.
In Asia, but this could, open him up to, the U.S. market.
Yeah. Who do we have next?
We have Rob Roush from Love Island. I would like to say that he's best known for his, like, overalls or life mentality, but that's just something, like, I made up. And, like, in the trailers, we know that he's already said, like, I'm not used to wearing this much clothes. So if you've watched Love Island, you know him as the guy who wore overalls the whole time. He was born in Alabama in 1998. He is an avid wildlife expert and snake wrangler. And he shares his experiences on TikTok, which is sort of, I think, how he came to Love Island, because they usually look at people that have like big social media followings and things like that, or influencers in their own right. Now, he was actually on a different season, not the main season that we know him from. He was on Love Island USA in 2023. He was part of their series Casa More twist on day 16. He was like competing for obviously one of the main spots in the villa, was not selected, and then eliminated on day 21. Then he came back in June 2024. He's one of like the OGs, part of the lineup. He's initially coupled up with Leah Kateb, then decides he wants to go for somebody else, Andrea Carmona, who I remember you had on your podcast. That was a really good interview. Yeah. And that ended up getting some backlash because people were like, hey, you were so into her. How can you do this? But then he also didn't leave with Andrea either, right? Like when she ends up getting kicked off. So I don't know. A lot of people saw him as like a villain for this decision. And he ended up sort of being a little bit of a villain for the rest of it, but he ended up coupling up with Cassidy, Liv, Daniela, and Casey in that order. And then after failing to find a meaningful connection, he was eliminated from the villa on day 30 after receiving the fewest votes from the public. And like I said, even though he had the closest connection with Andrea, he didn't end up pursuing anything outside of that. He's been in 3 music videos since he's done Love Island, which is kind of funny. Ellie Laufer's Let Me in 2022, and Nessa Barrett's Passenger Princess, that's a fun one, in 2004, and Dasha's Like It Like That in 2025. So we all know him, but like I think this is one of these silly choices.
You know what? I actually think it's a great choice. And what I respect about Rob is that he didn't take the easy money. Like, a lot of people, he also didn't participate in Love Island Beyond the Villa.
That's true.
And I think he really waited. I don't know if waited for the right opportunity, but Traitors is a different level for these, it's a
huge ass opportunity.
And so I think this is really interesting, and I'm really interested to see his gameplay because I don't know. We saw him be silent. We saw him play around with spiders and just say like kind of silly, things and wanting to hook up with girls. But it was like, are you a D-bag? Like, what are you? Are you the strong silent type? Are you a complete idiot? What are you? Like, he's out there in his trailer catching bugs and snakes and all of this stuff. Like, who are you exactly? But he didn't go on he didn't go on the full podcast circuit. I like when people aren't trying to be famous. And that's what it seems like.
It's funny that you say that though, because when he was on the BFFs podcast, which was Dave Portnoy's podcast, so let's circle that back. Dave kind of kept pointing to him at the things that he was doing prior to this, like where he had this huge TikTok following and he was doing all this stuff with snakes. He's like, so you were trying to become famous? So you were trying to become famous? Oh, so you were trying to become famous? So that just sort of stuck in my head. I see what you're saying though, and maybe he does want to become famous, but he got the advice to wait for the right opportunity.
And then you got famous. He didn't burn that out. It's like you might have been trying to, but then you got Love Island, and that was the first season for USA franchise that completely blew up. He was not nearly as obnoxious as some of the other people coming out of there.
For sure. The other advantage that he has that I kind of forgot about until this moment is his best friend Aaron, also from Love Island, was on a season of the Traitors and he won. Did he not? Did he not win his season? So he has the advantage of being able to get like intel and to be able to have like a whole gameplay conversation with his best friend.
I think Rob is a very smart guy that nobody will see coming. We'll see if I'm correct, but I was
told teasing us, Ryan, with your screeners.
I was told that about Rob. I was told they've been trying to get Rob. They tried to get Rob on last season of the Traitors. I was told that they've been trying to get Rob since Love Island.
I don't necessarily think that's because he's smart. No, I believe you if you think he is.
But I hear that he is smart.
Okay.
I heard that he is very smart. So we'll
from
see
reputable sources.
Yeah, well, Bergie has told me. Okay, Bergie's friendly with him. Is just like, no, the guy actually does know what he's talking about. So and I think that's interesting. We'll see if that actually pans out. But I think that it'll be interesting to see somebody that can flip somebody's perspective that you already have on them. And I think people are just like, whatever. So this is a really unique opportunity for him to for people that might have written him off as one of those Love Islanders, to be like, oh shit, you got a lot to offer.
Who do you think he will try to sleep with first?
Have we ever had anybody fully hooking up in the castle?
No, but I think we will.
I would love for it to
We
be.
will.
I would love for it to be Mama Kelsey. I would love for it to be Johnny Weir. I would love for it to be, anybody. I would love just anybody hooking up would be great. But I don't know. My brain's failing me if we've seen that completely.
I don't think so, but that would be fucking wild. Okay, we're dwindling down to our final 4 or 5, I think. We've got Caroline Stanbury, who we know from The Real Housewives of Dubai. She was on that show from 2002 to 2004. She was also on Ladies of London in 2014. I haven't watched that show, but I did get to see her on the new Hey You's version of The Real Housewives of London season that they did this past year, which I really, really enjoyed. And Dorinda was on that too, actually. So for Ladies of London, she returned for the 2nd season and 3rd season until it was canceled in 2017. Then she moves to Dubai. But before she joined Ladies of London, she actually started her own business named Gift Library, and it was a store that sold luxury swanky gifts. In 2004, she married Turkish banker Sem Habib. They have 3 children together. And then in 2016 is when she did that move to Dubai following a job offer her husband had gotten. They ended up separating in December 2019 after 15 years of marriage. And then she goes on to date this guy, Sergio Corallo, who we know from The Real Housewives of Dubai. Now, I did watch Dubai, but I didn't get that into it. I know that I'm sure that's something you experienced a lot with the fandom where it was tough. And when they had such a space between the seasons too, it was hard to kind of remember. But what we know most about Sergio is that he's super young. He's 19 years younger than her. He's a Spanish football player. They legally got married in, I always forget how to pronounce this place, Mauritius? Mauritius?
Yeah, sorry, it's like Doilet.
Sure. Due to the United Arab Emirates not recognizing interfaith marriages, but this law got changed around the same time, so she held the ceremony in Dubai. But what we know most about him is that he's just sort of clingy. That just sort of seems to be the lore about him out there. But is there any more that you know? Because I think you're more into Dubai than I was.
It's so funny that they're not on together because, really, they're always on top of each other. I met them at BravoCon, the one a couple years ago in New York, and even then, he's just all over her, and it's a very good looking dude, but very young, and there is some interesting things of there wasn't necessarily an overlap in her relationships, but the pandemic happened when they got together. My fiance is super into Caroline, especially, and she thinks she thinks they're hysterical, but she was Caroline moved this guy in and then the pandemic happened and the kids had to catch up. It seemed like an insane situation, but they're still together. And, they documented her facelift on Instagram.
Yeah, I remember that. That was pretty nasty to watch.
He wants to, but also he wants to have kids and she's old, there's this thing, are they or are they not going to have kids? She doesn't want to have kids. She feels like that she's past her prime for that, but he's much younger and wants one. And are they going to do IVF? Are they going to have a donor? What is going to happen? And is that, if Dubai was still around reality show wise, that was probably a storyline that they were going to really heavily document.
For sure. The only controversy that we've only seen about her recently is that she did do some IVF. She gained 18 pounds from it. So she went on Ozempic and people were like, that's not what it's for. She defended the decision, calling it one of the best tools available for weight loss. But I feel like we're just going to forever have this Ozempic conversation. I don't really know why.
Yeah, people can knock themselves out with having the conversation. As long as people that actually need that, for medical purposes can have it, then who cares? Everybody.
Which is my understanding, because there was that mentality out there, or the news out there, that people weren't able to get it. But it's my understanding now, or especially where I live, everyone can get it if they need it. Yeah. There's no shortage for the people who need it.
I would assume so, so Caroline, it'll be interesting. She's wickedly funny. She's very cutting.
But is she wicked?
Well, that's what I don't know. I really am curious. We had, who did we have last season from Dubai who is, hysterical? She was all over BravoCon this year. What's her name? I don't
remember any of their names. Sarah?
No. From Dubai. She's hysterical. She had that really hysterical interview with Lindsay Hubbard about what are you talking about?
Chanel Ayan.
Yeah,
Chanel Ayan. Is her first name or last name Ayan? I always get confused.
Last name.
So it's Chanel Ayan, right? But people call her Ayan, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
They call you Bailey. probably.
Exactly. Yeah,
Right.
exactly. Yeah.
All the
So
all the people are
I
going.
don't know. Caroline's going to be interesting. It'll be interesting to see her without Sergio.
You know what? I just forgot that she's besties with Dorinda, so that might be cool.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%.
Hanging out with your bestie. That's
Yeah.
fun.
And it'll be interesting to see if the housewives stick together.
I think they will until they can't. You know,
Yeah.
I think their initial draw. This is something that my mom used to always say. She was like, this is such a ridiculous thing for me to say, but when I was younger, I used to really try to separate myself from my being Jewish. As a young person, it was weird. Like people wouldn't date me because of it or be friends with me because of it. It was such like a weird mentality. It was such a bizarre thing, especially like where I lived. I don't know why people treated me differently for it. It's very normal to be Jewish now. But when I was younger, it seemed like it was something that was kind of like hurting me in life, I guess. So my mom, I'd always try to like make her, you know, I kind of like piss her off with it a little bit. She's like, if you were in a room, if you go into a room, you don't know anyone, and there's a group of Christian people and there's a group of Jewish people, who do you gravitate towards? And I go, the Christian people, just to piss her off, right? But I see what she's saying, and I think the mentality would be the same. You go into this room, and the only people, you don't know them, but you have this kinship, right? You're all housewives.
Yeah.
And, or whatever it is. And because of that kinship, we may not know each other, or like the way BravoCon is, or any of that. I don't know you, but we have something so in common. And because of that, I'm going to gravitate towards you. So I think they will gravitate towards each other. And then once, the alliances have to kind of split apart, they will.
And I don't trust Lisa Rinna as far as I could throw her.
Yeah, no.
I mean, even Caroline has a line in the preview of like, she'd throw her own grandmother under the bus.
Yeah, 100%. Oh, 100%. Oh, I was going to say, that wasn't her grandmother. Her mother, Lois, was like fucking awesome, by the way. Like, I really miss her.
I loved Lisa Rinna's mother. I loved Lois. I thought she was great.
The best. Okay, let's move on to our second figure skater, bestie of Tara Lipinski, Johnny Weir. So he is a two-time Olympian, 2006 and 2010 Winter Olympics. In the 2008 World, he got bronze medal, and he was a two-time Grand Prix final bronze medalist. He also got the 2001 World Junior Championship, and he was a three-time U.S. national champion from 2004 to 2006. He was also the youngest U.S. national champion since 1991. He actually often designed his own costumes, which is similar to like what I was saying. So he'd work extensively on that with his designers and was known for his fashion choices as a broadcaster. So it's interesting, again, to sort of mix those things, the fashion and the broadcasting. His costume choices were outspoken, and they caused conflicts with the U.S. figure skating association, because they're the governing body, and they, I guess, kind of felt like his outfits were maybe didn't meet the standard, which is kind of ridiculous because, I mean, even today on airplanes, flight attendants can't have more than one piercing, and they can't have a buckle on their boot. And what are all these things? What do they really matter? At the end of the day, if he wants to wear a certain thing, and as long as it's not going to hurt or hurt his performance in any way, or sort of give him any sort of like jumping off point, what do you give a shit what he wears, right? I don't know, in my opinion.
We love to pick out anything.
Yeah. So television commenters would bring up his sexual orientation during performances, which is fucked up as hell, causing him to publicly address homophobic remarks by commenters during the 2010 Olympics. And good for him, right? Because, that could kind of like affect your not even just your performance, but like sometimes people just sit back quietly because they don't want to like come off bad in the media. But like, good for him, or being like, no, that's absolutely not okay, and you cannot speak about me that way.
Well, it would be interesting to have a conversation between Colton Underwood and Johnny Weir.
Yeah.
About what they faced and,
in the sports community. Yeah,
exactly.
That's really interesting. But there's like a difference, I guess, when it comes to figure skating and football in terms of how the athletes are perceived. And so I'm actually be really interested to watch a conversation like that, to be honest. What else do we know about him? Okay, so he was getting a lot of death threats during the Olympics. He was receiving nasty emails for months afterwards. People were attacking his love for all things Russian and his sexual preferences. Listen, I dated a guy who was Russian. He was obsessed with being Russian. It was all he talked about. I don't know why. I pretended it was cool as well. I'm like, yeah, that's great, when I really didn't care less, right? But, what do people care if he really loves Russia? I don't know.
know.
But he would wear retro Soviet CCCP sweatshirts instead of US clothing during the Olympics. So people, I guess, felt that, like, you know, you're supposed to support your country in terms of what you're wearing, I guess, during the Olympics. In 2009, he did a documentary, Pop Stars on Ice, and it was in San Francisco. It aired in January 2010 in Manhattan at the Sundance Channel. And Be Good Johnny Weir was another documentary that he did. It was an 8-episode documentary series. It kind of talked about the ups and downs of his career. In 2013, he retired from figure skating and the competition and joined NBC as a figure skating analyst at the Sochi Olympics. He was teamed up with sports commentator Terry Gannon and fellow figure skater, Olympic gold medalist, and Betsy Tara Lipinski, right? So I don't know. Apparently they had comedic chemistry. People really liked it. And like I said, he was in her wedding, right? He was her bridesman. So these two are besties. Now, let's issue a little mini trigger warning here for what's about to come up, because we have an issue between Johnny Weir and his partner, Viktor Voronov. They, in January 2012, had a civil ceremony in New York. This was 5 months after the state legalized same-sex marriages. Then a temporary restraining order was filed and then dismissed in January 2014 regarding allegations that Weir had bitten his husband 3 times, which is like a weird allegation. Like, what are these bites? Are we talking about like vampire status? What are we talking about here, right? So then they dismiss it, right? Which just shows that it was like a fight, and then they, decided they didn't want this anymore. But then like minutes later, literally like a month later, Weir files for divorce. So obviously they were at their end. The couple appeared in court in March 2014 to dismiss allegations of domestic violence against Weir. In the following weeks, Johnny Weir was filing for divorce, and then each of them basically took their sides in the media. In an interview with Access Hollywood, Weir revealed that he was emotionally abused and cut off from his loved ones during that relationship. He said, "You would never see a mark on my body, but the damage that was done to me mentally was crippling," Weir said. "I was controlled on almost every front of my life. Friends were cut off out of my life, acquaintances, managers, even down to my own mother." Of the couple's rocky relationship, he said that some of the fights with Voronov did become physical, stating that their arguments were occasionally violent. Weir said that it was mostly just like good humor, like wrestling. It's so funny that men love to wrestle with each other. But a few times, of course, it did get physical, and some of my closest friends have seen him hit me before. Weir was, though, not concerned that his estranged husband would retaliate. He surmised that the worst he could do would be to post naked photos, which is funny that he sort of thinks of like what this guy could possibly have on him. And that's fine because I look flawless, which, sure, that's a great way to put it. Then Weir ended up making rape allegations against his ex-husband. Now, right after that, his ex-husband ended up suing Weir for these defamation claims and saying that he has spun lies easily as he's performed a triple sow cow. I mean, that's a really interesting way to go to the media, but okay. When accusing his estranged husband of attempted rape and having herpes. So yeah, it wasn't just rape, it was also this accusation of herpes.
Wow.
A couple months later, in November 2014, according to TMZ, the estranged couple did end up finding just some common ground, agreeing to like put it all aside. They sold their community property. They placed their funds in a trust. And one item that Weir did get that apparently was like really important to him was like this $20,000 Fabergé egg that was apparently like this bone of contention during the divorce. So I don't know what to make of all of that. We obviously believe people, but then we don't really have much more information because they ended up just making the whole thing go away. So crazy, because I never heard of any of this, and really takes the figure skating community like way higher than I thought.
Wow, that Johnny Weir just shot to the top of my list to look out. I mean, that is that's 12 years ago, that situation.
Right.
So, man, that is intense. Wow. Okay. Whoa, moving to our last.
There's really nothing else to say about it.
Moving to our last two. I mean, I'm really sitting with that one. That really shook me at the end there. I did not see it headed that way, but hopefully everybody involved is okay. My God.
Yeah, I mean, thank God it was such a long time ago.
Interesting things about pop culture, because I'm sure I read that headline at some point. Like, I'm sure I saw that Access Hollywood. I've seen all of those things, and sometimes your mind just doesn't keep that in those memory banks, you know?
Yeah,
and,
it's so strange.
That seems insane. Okay, so now we got a big one. Portia Williams. Real Housewives of Atlanta star from 2012 to 2021 and rejoined the cast this past season and has already shot her second season. So that has already shot the second season of Atlanta that has not come out yet. But she's an iconic housewife. She's one of those like people that people love. Portia Williams. She also co-hosted Bravo's Chat Room in 2020. If you remember that, that was a pandemic.
I do.
Pandemic show alongside Giselle Bryant, Hannah Berner, and Kate Chastain.
If I'm not mistaken, I think that Stassi was supposed to do this too, I think. And then she had to tell them that she couldn't do it, but it was because she was pregnant. But then a minute later, she was canceled anyway.
Yeah. God, think about if Stassi had not gotten fired, what would have been her career path? It's interesting to think about. Portia starred in the third season of Ultimate Girls Trip as well, and the first season of Stars on Mars, which was hysterical.
I love
Stars
that
on
show.
Mars. You guys, also Tom Schwartz was in that show, like
it's
directly
so good.
after Scandival. So he was like, "Oh, I don't know what I'm doing here. This is crazy." You know, it was such a weird little Fox show that like, okay, well, at least they're trying things. She, like so many housewives, released a debut single in 2014 called Flatline. She also published her memoir in 2021, The Pursuit of Portia. She's got a long love life history. She married football player Cordell Stewart in May of 2011. And after approximately 2 years of marriage, she filed for divorce for Williams in March of 2013. Now, during a reunion special, which, by the way, go back and watch old seasons of Atlanta. Go back and watch old seasons of any housewife shows. You're gonna love it. She commented that she was totally blindsided by the divorce filing and alleged that she learned of their separation through Twitter. That's the way to find out, you guys. During season 6 of Real Housewives of Atlanta, the reunion, Kenya Moore implied that Williams was unfaithful during her marriage after Williams called Moore a, quote, slut from the 90s. I mean, that's iconic. Like, where does the line even come up? That's amazing. Slut from the 90s, and Moore yelled that Williams was a dumb hoe from a megaphone. Williams assaulted Moore. Moore later threatened to quit the series if Portia was to remain, commenting that, quote, "We've become angry with each other. We've threatened each other and gone to the edge. But at the end of the day, we know there's a line." So,
and there is, right? It should never get physical, and that wasn't okay. But that is what Michael Rappaport was talking about. That's the situation that he was commenting about with Kenya and Portia. Again, full circle.
Portia said a lot of stuff on Atlanta. Now, in December of 2013, she received criticism after making comments which indicated that she believed the Underground Railroad was an actual railroad line. And which was also interesting because if you remember, her family was really into, I think the civil rights movement. So it was like her family must have been like, what? She later commented that it was a brain lapse. So you said for your Portia moments.
No, that's her. That's all a quote.
I have Portia. Brain lapse. It says, I have Portia moments that you've seen on the show before. For me, seeing that, I knew that I had to go back and brush up on my history, so I'm representing my legacy well.
But you know what she did, right? Because during COVID, she really fought for Black Lives Matter. Okay. So like what she may have had in ignorance, she is more than made up for in terms of like contributing to the community in that way. Like she was arrested and everything. So good for her. Not for getting arrested, but for like fighting for the community.
Well, she was also arrested December 29th, 2014 for speeding with a suspended license, but was released the same day. On September 19th of 2018, she announced her pregnancy. On October 1st, it was reported she was engaged to entrepreneur Dennis McKinley.
Who's the baby daddy?
Yeah, it was shown on season 11, episode 15, which aired in 2019. In March 22nd of 2019, she gave birth to their daughter. Pilar? Is that right?
Pilar. I like the way they say it. It's almost like with a little accent, like Pilar.
Pilara. Showcased on her. I forgot about Portia's spinoff. There was a Portia spinoff called Portia's Having a Baby. Williams.
No, wait, I didn't watch that one. I watched the one about her family. Portia's Family Matters.
Portia's Family
That's
Matters.
A different one.
Yeah. Williams and McKinley briefly split in June, but had reunited by August of 2019. We did talk about the Black Lives Matter of it all, which she was a strong advocate for. But then it's interesting because then you jump to that relationship faltering and then Portia meeting her next husband, Simon, through castmate Fallon.
Right.
She met, remember, Fallon, which was a storyline. And once Simon announced his divorce, she reached out to check on him, and then they started hooking up. And so obviously that timeline is very suspect. And 3 years after the fact, appearing on the Baller Alert show, Fallon blurted out, quote, "They were dating for a year while I was still happily married, and that came from Dennis's mouth."
I don't know. Like, what do you think to this day? Do you think that there was some home wrecking there?
Yes.
Yeah, you do. Okay.
Yeah, I love Portia, but yes. I mean, yes, 100%, yes.
So no?
Yeah, I mean, no, I mean, I hate it. Like, am I in the minority? Does everybody think this didn't happen? Like, I think this totally happened, you know?
You know what? I was kind of like really, what's the word? Like watching it in the background that season. So I wasn't like really paying close attention, and I was just kind of like hearing it in the background, just kind of skating over the storylines. But like, it's kind of funny. I mean, if that's what they're saying, then that's what they're saying. But then we have like the Simon Guobadia of it all in terms of like them getting a divorce now, because they're divorced, but he's been deported because he's like committed so many crimes, like all of these insane like fraud things. But then at the same time, he's trying to sue her because she made some posts about like erectile dysfunction, or saying that he has erectile dysfunction. So he's suing her for $500,000 for lost business opportunities and sponsorships, and will be seeking unspecified damages for harm to his reputation, emotional distress, and humiliation. Because in his suit, he said that she made many comments regarding erectile dysfunction. These posts were intentionally crafted to imply that he suffers from this condition, casting him in a negative and humiliating light. Oh, but it's also false. He does not have ED and has never suffered from or been diagnosed with this condition. Men are so funny that they'll go the route of like a lawsuit just to prove that their penis works.
If somebody said that about, like, yeah, say it all day long. Who the fuck cares? Like, I'm never going around going, you know what? I'm only going to do business if your dick works. That's only, like, how would that ever affect anybody's business in a million years? And so you see, like, obviously, this is what I'm talking about. Obviously, this guy is focused on the wrong things. Obviously, this guy is going to be cheating on his wife. He's going to keep doing this for the rest of his life. And
but don't you remember he had like 13 wives before her or something, and that he had cheated on all of them? Do you remember that scene where she sits him down and he's like, yeah, I've cheated on all of them. She's like, okay, all right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it checks out. Well, but also
it's not
remember,
going to happen to me, though.
We didn't see Simon, but he made it very difficult to have Portia film this current season of Atlanta.
Okay.
You know, and it made it really difficult for her. I do want to say So Bad It's Good does go on record that Simon does not have ED. He's got a strong, hard dick. And that's So Bad It's Good says that. So I will never be sued, okay?
Right. And my comments were purely allegedly.
Yes, all
just
alleged.
Got to keep screaming the word allegedly. Well, what do you think about her in terms of this show? I mean, we've seen her on like a few different things. She's been a housewife. She's been a star on Mars. She has been, on these cast trips, Ultimate Housewives. But I think also just having her on shows like, even though it's her own family, like Portia's Family Matters or Portia's Family Values, she fights with her family. She's a fighter. She knows how to fight, and she knows how to get what she wants. And I think that's good.
If she gets into a fight on the Traitors, I think she's got a good chance at winning that fight.
Yeah.
But I've seen Portia make, like, Portia has said some like kind of dumb things here and there. I think sometimes she's not as completely thought out as some of like, say, like gamer strategy. I think she kind of goes by the seat of her pants, and I think it's worked out a lot for her. And I also think she is so charming. She's obviously beautiful. She has so many things going for her. So I really don't know what the, but I think if she gets into a fight, she's going to usually win that fight. So we'll see. I mean, she's somebody that I'm excited to watch on this show. And I think she's got a lot of goodwill towards her.
She'll be funny, if anything. Like, we're definitely going to get some laughs. Yeah.
I mean, because even if she says something stupid, she'll laugh about it,
Yeah, for sure.
Our last one is Jamil Jam Arch. I always say Yam Yam, but I watched his season of Survivor. He won season 44 of Survivor. He's 36. He's from Puerto Rico. He was on the season with Carolyn, who was so huge on Traitors last season. Remember Carolyn?
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, they were on the same season.
Cool.
He's a salon owner. He loves to do bearded drag for Halloween. His favorite hobbies include taking care of his plants, going to the beach with his husband, and hanging out with his girlfriends and traveling. After Hurricane Maria hit Puerto Rico, he had no power in his house or work for 90 days, and he had to lead his team of 20 adults still. And then he was also the first gay winner of color during season 44 of Survivor. This guy he's good. He's talented. He's a good social player. He is funny. He can be a little overbearing, but not Michael Rappaport overbearing.
Okay.
And I think he's really easy to like, I think. So I'm really curious to see how people take him. But Jam Jam, he's always been great. I just hope he plays it the right way. And I don't know exactly what I mean by that, but I think it'll be interesting to see his social game.
And I think he also has that advantage that Rob has with Aaron, where he can go to Carolyn and like kind of get the lowdown from her, right? There's that. I mean, being on Survivor, I could see this guy in a show like Special Forces as well, quite frankly. I feel like he could be really good on something like that. I'm curious, right? I kind of feel bad for the gamers in the sense that I know we didn't come here to make friends, but I kind of feel like they're going to struggle in terms of making friends because they're going to be the most, what's the word? Like when you're, we want to stay away from you because you're more likely to win. What's the word I'm looking for? Dangerous? Not dangerous, but like.
Also at the same time, like, I wonder how much, like, say, is Portia really aware of gamers? Is she really like, oh, I'm doing my research and studying Survivor and Amazing Race? Like, what is everybody's awareness of each other,
But I think that, like, you don't have to go that far down. I feel like they wouldn't. I feel like she would be like, oh, that's a gamer. That's someone that was on Survivor. I got to be aware of that person. Yeah. For example, right? Like, I don't think you need to go that far. I think they wouldn't even necessarily bother. I just think that generally people are going to be more afraid of the gamers because they're going to, I mean, they traditionally do pretty well.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they do. I mean, but, I really think that's why the Traitors is fascinating, because you could play it 1,000 different ways and you get 1,000 different combinations, 1,000 different outcomes. And I don't think we have enough US we haven't had enough US seasons to really be bored with this yet, or say this is like a trip up in the game, or it's getting boring in this sense. So, I mean, I think I trust the casting directors so much at this point that even if I'm not overly thrilled with certain choices, I'm like, there's got to be something there. I trust they deserve our trust.
I completely concur, because this is such a fucking good show. They've never let us down. And one cast member that, quite frankly, I forgot to mention, and I can't believe that I did, is Lala, Alan Cummings' dog, and I love her. She's so beautiful, and I'm so excited to see her roaming around the castle. She is such a star.
She gets kicked out first. Sorry to spoiler alert. Okay, folks, we have come to the end of a very long multi-episode arc here. But like I said, I hope you're listening to this at any point if you're looking to have further information about any of the cast members. But I really want to stress, go and subscribe to the Bravo Investigator podcast and leave a 5-star review, Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And what do you have coming up on the pod?
I just have my regular stuff, which is a Monday to Friday show. Monday, I do a reality roundup, which is the news of all the reality stuff that's going on. So if you know a reality star that's gotten arrested, that's what we're talking about on Mondays. Tuesday, we're doing 90 Day Fiancé before the 90 days. Wednesdays is Patreon, where we are doing Vanderpump Rules from the beginning, season 1, which I'm really enjoying. Thursdays is Southern Charm recap and Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. And Fridays, I'm really excited for the Valley Persian Style, which I just watched those first 2 episodes today, and Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. So yeah, it's a full-packed show, Monday to Friday.
What are you doing?
Sorry?
Are you recapping Traitors, or what do you do? I mean,
I don't know what to do about the Traitors. I'm curious what you think about it, because I find it hard to recap because it's all that gameplay, right? So I think I'm going to tack it on to my reality roundups on Monday and just kind of talk about the outcomes of every episode or kind of the big moments.
Yeah. Well, you guys, this has been a blast. I hope you liked this. I think this was really enlightening for me. So I think you're going to feel the same way. But go, like I said, go support Bravo Investigator. We will be recapping the specific episodes with Bergie. So stay subscribed so you can check that out when it's out. I know Bergie is very excited about talking about this show, but thank you, Dana, so much. This has been amazing. And Dana, such great investigative work. That's what I'm saying. You got to follow her because she digs deep. I'm not a dig deeper. I dig very shallow. So
I
thank
dig
you,
light.
Dana. I dig light.
Thank you so much for having me, Ryan. And I did also just want to mention, I did just do a deep dive on my podcast a couple weeks back on Kyle Cook, the star of Summer House. We have that coming back on February the 3rd. I did a 2-hour deep dive on that guy. So if you liked the kind of deep dives we did today, if you want like an even longer version, head over to the Bravo Investigator podcast because it is a doozy.
Well, now I got to go do a Jeep commercial, but this is way more fun than that. So, you guys, happy hunting out there and welcome to another season of The Traitors. Bye.
Bye.